The image of Lucille Ball, with her vibrant red hair and expressive face, remains etched in the collective memory. It is an image synonymous with laughter, with a particular brand of physical comedy that transcended language barriers and cultural divides. Yet, beneath the surface of this enduring comedic persona lay a life of significant complexity, a journey that began in the quiet landscapes of early 20th century America and evolved through the tumultuous decades that followed. Her story is more than a simple chronicle of a performer's rise to stardom. It's a narrative interwoven with the profound societal shifts of her time. From the nascent days of Hollywood's studio system to the revolutionary advent of television, Lucille Ball navigated an entertainment landscape in constant flux. Her experiences reflected the changing roles of women, the evolving dynamics of marriage and partnership, and the persistent pursuit of creative independence in an industry often resistant to change. This exploration will delve beyond the familiar comedic routines, seeking to understand the individual who shaped and was shaped by these historical currents. We will observe the quiet determination that propelled her forward, the challenges she faced, and the decisions that ultimately forged her legacy. Her life offers a lens through which to view not only the history of entertainment, but also the broader tapestry of American life in the 20th century. The echoes of her laughter, though iconic, are but one facet of a much deeper, more intricate human experience. This journey seeks to illuminate the layers of that experience, providing a measured and reflective account of a life that left an indelible mark. The tapestry of Lucille Ball's life unfolds with quiet deliberation, beginning far from the bright lights of Hollywood and the familiar strains of a television theme song. Our journey will commence in the small towns of New York, exploring her formative years, a period often overshadowed by later achievements. These early experiences, marked by both stability and upheaval, contributed to the resilience and drive that would characterize her later endeavors. We will then observe her initial forays into the entertainment world, a slow and often challenging ascent through modeling and minor film roles. This was a time of learning and perseverance, where the foundations of her craft were quietly laid, long before the world recognized her comedic genius. The narrative will trace her evolution through the studio system, highlighting the roles and relationships that shaped her professional identity and personal life during the golden age of Hollywood. Central to her story, yet not the entirety of it, is the groundbreaking work in television. We will examine the creation and impact of I Love Lucy, understanding its historical context and its revolutionary approach to production and content. However, our focus will extend beyond the iconic series, exploring her ventures into studio management, her role as a pioneering female executive, and her sustained presence in entertainment long after the initial wave of her greatest fame. This comprehensive exploration aims to present the full arc of her existence, from her unassuming origins to her eventual status as a media magnate and enduring cultural figure. It is a story told with careful attention to detail, seeking to illuminate the individual behind the legend, offering a complete and nuanced perspective on a life lived fully within the public eye, yet often privately complex. This slow unfolding of events invites contemplation, yes, moving beyond the immediate association with a single character to appreciate the breadth of her contributions and experiences. The narrative of Lucille Ball commences in a quiet corner of western New York State, specifically in Jamestown. It was there, on August 6, 1911, that Lucille Desiree Ball first entered the world. Jamestown at that time was a modest city, its pace of life reflective of many American towns in the early 20th century. Industry played a role in its economy, yet a sense of community and local focus permeated its atmosphere. Her father was Henry Durrell Ball, a telephone lineman whose work would occasionally necessitate relocation. Her mother was Desiree Evelyn Hunt, more commonly known as Dee Dee, This immediate family unit formed the earliest environment for young Lucille. The home in Jamestown provided the initial setting for her existence, a place where the ordinary rhythms of family life began to establish themselves. The surroundings of Jamestown offered a conventional backdrop for a burgeoning life. The streets were lined with familiar residential architecture, and the days likely followed a predictable pattern of domesticity and local activity. The larger world, with its burgeoning technologies and shifting social landscapes, would have been a distant hum, not yet directly impinging upon the immediate experiences of a newborn. Her parents, Henry and Dide, were young themselves, as embarking on the journey of parenthood within these modest circumstances. The early years for Lucille Ball were rooted in this specific geographical and familial context, a foundation that, while seemingly unassuming, would precede a life of extraordinary public visibility. It was a beginning marked by the typical quietude of a small-town American family, far removed from the clamour and spectacle that would later define her career. This Jamestown beginning is the quiet overture to a life that would eventually resonate globally. The roots of Lucille Ball's lineage extend into distinct family histories, each contributing to the foundation of her early life. On her father's side, the Ball family carried a heritage that included Quaker ancestry. This particular religious background, known for its principles of peace, equality, and simplicity, suggests a certain moral framework that may have been present in the family's past, even if its direct influence on her immediate parents was not overtly pronounced. The Ball family, like many American families of that era, possessed a history tied to various trades and communities, establishing themselves in the northeastern United States. However, it was the Hunt side of her family, her mother Didi's lineage, that provided a more immediate and perhaps more palpable influence during Lucille's formative years. The Hunt family was characterized by a notable presence of strong, docile, resilient women. This matriarchal strength would become a significant factor in Lucille's upbringing, particularly following certain changes in her early childhood. Her maternal grandparents, Fred and Flora Hunt, played a pivotal role. Fred Hunt was a man of steady employment, often associated with the furniture industry, a prominent trade in Jamestown. Flora Hunt, her maternal grandmother, was a figure of particular importance. She was a woman of strong character, possessing a practical wisdom and a steadfast nature. It was within their home and under Flora's watchful eye that much of Lucille's childhood would unfold. This environment, shaped by the Hunt family's practicality and Flora's quiet authority, provided a stable, if sometimes strict, upbringing. The influence of these strong female figures from the Hunt family would subtly begin to shape the resilience and determination that would later become hallmarks of Lucille Ball's character. So for a brief period, Lucille Ball experienced the rhythms of a typical American family life in the early 20th century. Her earliest years were marked by a certain conventional tranquility, a reflection of the societal norms that prevailed. Born in Jamestown, New York in 1911, she entered a world where family structures were often traditional and community ties were strong. Her father, Henry Durrell Ball, worked as a telephone lineman, a common and essential occupation in a rapidly modernizing nation. Her mother, Dida Ball, fulfilled the role of a homemaker, a customary expectation for women during that era. This initial phase of Lucille's life unfolded within the familiar confines of a small-town existence. Days were likely filled with the simple activities of childhood, the sounds of a bustling household, and the gentle routines established by her parents. The presence of both mother and father provided a sense of completeness, a conventional family unit that was the ideal of the time. The societal landscape was one of evolving technology, with the telephone becoming more widespread, yet daily life still retained many aspects of a pre-industrial pace. Children played outdoors, neighbours knew one another, and life generally followed a predictable course. This era, prior to the significant upheavals of later decades, offered a snapshot of normalcy. It was a time when the foundations of identity were laid within a seemingly secure environment. The brief period of stability, characterized by the presence of both parents and the routines of a nuclear family, established a baseline for what a typical childhood might entail. However, this early sense of equilibrium was not destined to last indefinitely, and the quiet rhythm of these initial years would soon be interrupted by unforeseen circumstances. This fleeting normalcy would serve as a backdrop against which the subsequent changes in her life would be measured. The brief period of early childhood stability for Lucille Ball was abruptly shattered in 1915 by a profound and irreversible event: the death of her father, Henry Durrell Ball. At merely 3 years old, Lucille was too young to fully comprehend the permanence of this loss, yet its repercussions would ripple through the entirety of her formative years and beyond. And Henry Ball succumbed to typhoid fever, a pervasive and often fatal illness in an era before widespread vaccinations and advanced medical treatments. His passing was not an isolated family tragedy, but a common occurrence in the early 20th century, where infectious diseases frequently claimed lives, leaving families to grapple with sudden and immense grief. This unexpected death irrevocably altered the trajectory of the Ball family. Dida Ball, Lucille's mother, soon was left a young widow with 2 small children, Lucille and her younger brother Fred. The financial stability and emotional anchor provided by Henry was suddenly gone, forcing a dramatic shift in their living circumstances and future prospects. For Lucille, the absence of her father meant a childhood shaped by a single-parent household, albeit one quickly augmented by the strong presence of her maternal grandparents. The societal structure of the time, while often supportive of widows, still presented significant challenges, particularly in terms of economic independence. The void left by Henry Ball's death meant that Lucille would grow up without the direct influence of a father figure, a common experience for many children during that period of higher mortality rates. This early encounter with loss, though not consciously processed in its entirety by a 3-year-old, contributed to the tapestry of her early experiences, subtly influencing her perceptions of security and permanence. It marked the end of her initial untroubled family unit and ushered in a new, more complex chapter, defined by adaptability and resilience. The immediate aftermath of Henry Ball's death cast a long shadow over the lives of his young family, necessitating a series of difficult adjustments. Didi Ball, facing the daunting prospect of raising 2 young children alone, found herself without the financial resources or established support system needed to maintain their previous life. This led to the family's relocation from Jamestown to the nearby village of Celeron, New York. This move, though a short distance geographically, represented a significant shift in their stability and daily existence. Celeron offered a new, albeit temporary home, but it did not alleviate the pressing financial struggles that now defined Didi's efforts. The early 20th century presented limited opportunities for women to achieve financial independence, particularly for those with young children and without specialized skills or inherited wealth. Didi's attempts to secure steady employment were often met with the harsh realities of the era, leading to periods of significant hardship. The necessity of making ends meet often dictated their living arrangements, which frequently changed. For young Lucille, these circumstances translated into a childhood marked by frequent moves. The family would shift from one temporary dwelling to another, sometimes residing with relatives, sometimes in rented rooms or small apartments. This constant upheaval instilled a sense of rootlessness, a lack of a permanent, stable home base that many children take for granted. Each new location meant adapting to unfamiliar surroundings, new neighbours, and often new schools or caregivers. This nomadic existence was driven by economic necessity, meant that Lucille did not experience the settled, consistent environment that might have otherwise characterized her early years. The absence of a fixed home, coupled with the emotional impact of her father's passing, created an early life defined by transience. While these experiences undoubtedly fostered resilience and adaptability within her, they also introduced an undercurrent of instability that would shape her perspectives and perhaps fuel a later desire for security and a place of her own. The constant motion became a defining characteristic of her very early childhood, a stark contrast to the brief period of domestic calm that preceded it. Amidst the instability that followed her father's passing, a crucial anchoring presence emerged in Lucille Ball's young life. Her maternal grandparents, Fred and Flora Hunt. Their home in Kelleron, New York, became a central point of stability, offering a refuge from the constant shifts and uncertainties that had characterized her early years. The Hunt household provided a structured environment, a stark contrast to the more fluid circumstances Lucille had known. Fred Hunt, Lucille's maternal grandfather, was a man with a distinct personality. He held a deep appreciation for the performing arts, particularly vaudeville. This form of entertainment, a popular blend of comedy, music, dance, and variety acts, captivated him. He frequently attended local shows and often brought this enthusiasm into the home, fostering an atmosphere where performance and theatricality were not only tolerated but celebrated. His love for vaudeville may have been one of the earliest seeds planted in Lucille's mind regarding the world of entertainment, offering glimpses into a vibrant, imaginative realm beyond their daily routine. Then, in contrast to Fred's artistic inclinations, Flora Hunt, Lucille's maternal grandmother, embodied a more practical and grounded nature. She was the matriarch of the household, a strong and capable woman who managed the family's affairs with efficiency and resolve. Flora provided a consistent and firm hand, establishing clear rules and expectations. Her practical approach to life ensured that the household ran smoothly, and offering a sense of order and security that was deeply needed after the chaos of previous years. While her demeanour could sometimes be perceived as strict, it was born out of a desire to provide for and protect her family, ensuring their well-being in a challenging economic climate. Together, Fred and Flora Hunt created a unique environment. It was a place where the imaginative world of performance, championed by Fred, coexisted with the disciplined realities of daily life, overseen by Flora. This blend of influences offered young Lucille a foundation that was both stable and subtly inspiring. The structure provided by her grandparents allowed her to develop within a secure framework, even as the seeds of an interest in performance, perhaps inherited or nurtured by her grandfather's passion, began to quietly take root. Their home became a sanctuary, shaping her early understanding of family, discipline, and the captivating allure of the stage. Within the structured environment of her grandparents' home, subtle indications of Lucille Ball's inherent performing inclinations began to emerge. Though not yet a fully formed ambition, these early glimmers hinted at a natural draw toward expression and observation. The influence of her grandfather, Fred Hunt, with his consistent admiration for vaudeville, undoubtedly played a role in cultivating this nascent interest. The household, through his enthusiasm, became a place where the spectacle of performance was not alien, but rather a topic of regular discussion and enjoyment. Lucille, even at a young age, displayed an observant nature, absorbing the world around her with a keen eye for details and interactions. While specific records of elaborate childhood plays or formal recitations are scarce from this very early period, the general atmosphere created by Fred's passion for the stage offered a constant, if indirect, education in the art of entertainment. She would have been exposed to stories of performers, descriptions of acts, and the general magic surrounding the theatrical world, all filtered through her grandfather's appreciative perspective. This exposure, combined with her own developing personality, likely fostered an early understanding of how people connect and react to different forms of expression. She was learning, perhaps unconsciously, about timing, presence, and the way an individual could command attention. The theatrical sensibilities of vaudeville, with its broad humour and physical comedy, would have been particularly accessible to a child, offering simple yet effective blueprints for eliciting a response from an audience. These were not yet grand performances, but rather quiet observations and perhaps small, spontaneous enactments within the privacy of her family circle. The seed of performance was being watered by her grandfather's consistent delight in vaudeville, allowing a natural curiosity to slowly unfurl. This period marked the very beginning of a journey toward understanding the dynamics of engaging an audience, a fundamental aspect of the career that would eventually define her. The stable home environment provided the space for such inclinations to gently manifest. As Lucille Ball transitioned from early childhood toward adolescence, the broader American landscape was undergoing profound transformations. The Great War had concluded, leaving an indelible mark on the nation's psyche and its place in the global order. The initial relief and sense of victory was soon followed by a period of introspection and a desire for normalcy, yet normalcy itself was being redefined. The 1920s, often romanticized as the Jazz Age, began to bloom, bringing with it a vibrant cultural effervescence. New forms of music, dance, and artistic expression emerged, challenging older conventions. This was a decade marked by increasing urbanization, technological advancements like radio and automobiles, and a burgeoning consumer culture. The rhythms of society quickened, and a sense of liberation permeated many aspects of daily life, particularly for younger generations. Crucially, this era also witnessed significant shifts in the roles and expectations for women. The suffrage movement had culminated in the 19th Amendment, at granting women the right to vote, a monumental step toward greater equality. Beyond politics, women were entering the workforce in larger numbers, pursuing higher education, and challenging traditional domestic constraints. The flapper image, with its bobbed hair, shorter skirts, and independent spirit, symbolized a defiance of Victorian prudishness and the embrace of new freedoms. While this image was not universally adopted, yes, it reflected a broader societal conversation about female agency and identity. These currents of change, though perhaps not immediately apparent in the quiet routines of Jamestown, formed the backdrop against which Lucille Ball would come of age. The world she was growing into was one of expanding possibilities, where the boundaries of what was acceptable or achievable for a woman were subtly, yet fundamentally shifting. The cultural dynamism of the era, with its emphasis on youth, modernity, and new forms of entertainment, would ultimately intersect with her own burgeoning interests, shaping her perceptions and future aspirations in ways that were both personal and reflective of her time. Lucille Ball's formal education was not marked by academic distinction. While she attended schools in Kelleron and Jamestown, New York, her mind often seemed to drift beyond the confines of textbooks and lectures. She was not a diligent student in the conventional sense, and her grades rarely reflected a deep engagement with subjects like mathematics or history. Her intellect was not dormant, but rather it was directed elsewhere, toward observation and the world of human interaction. Despite her general disinterest in scholarly pursuits, certain subjects and activities did manage to capture her attention. She found a particular enjoyment in English classes, especially those involving literature and public speaking. These subjects offered avenues for expression and storytelling, echoes of the theatrical world her grandfather so admired. Additionally, she gravitated towards activities that allowed for creative or social interaction, often participating in school plays or informal performances. These early experiences, though minor, provided small stages for her innate inclinations. Beyond the structured environment of school, Lucille harboured ambitions that transcended the familiar horizons of her small town. The quiet life of Jamestown, while offering stability, did not entirely satisfy her burgeoning curiosity or her sense of adventure. She dreamed of a life beyond the ordinary, a life filled with movement, excitement, and perhaps a touch of glamour. These early aspirations were not yet fully formed or directed toward a specific career path. Rather, they were a vague but persistent yearning for something more expansive than what her immediate surroundings could offer. Her interests were not entirely focused on traditional feminine roles of the era. While many young women might have envisioned marriage and domesticity, Lucille's gaze seemed to extend further, fueled by the cultural shift of the 1920s that hinted at new possibilities for women. The allure of the stage, the silver screen, or even simply the bustling energy of a large city, then began to coalesce in her imagination. These early, somewhat unfocused ambitions were the first stirrings of a desire to carve out a unique path for herself, even if the precise destination remained unclear. During her time at Jamestown High School, Lucille Ball continued to develop a personality marked by both spirited independence and a budding social grace. While her academic record remained unremarkable, her social life began to flourish. She possessed a natural charisma that drew others to her, and she was often found in the company of friends, engaging in the typical activities of adolescence in the 1920s. Dances, social gatherings, and casual outings formed a significant part of her high school experience, providing a contrast to the academic demands she found less stimulating. Her developing personality during these years was characterized by a growing confidence and a willingness to challenge conventional expectations. She was observant, often studying the mannerisms and behaviours of those around her, a trait that would later serve her well in her performing career. This period also saw the strengthening of her desire for something more than what her small-town future seemed to promise. Jamestown, while home, began to feel too confining for her expanding aspirations. Several experiences during her high school years subtly shaped her worldview. The social dynamics of the school, the interactions with peers and authority figures all contributed to her understanding of human nature. She learned to navigate social situations, to charm and to express herself, skills that are invaluable in any profession requiring public engagement. These were not formal lessons, but rather practical lessons in living. It was during this era that Lucille made her initial, somewhat tentative, attempts at independence. These were not grand gestures, but rather small steps towards asserting her autonomy. She took on various part-time jobs, perhaps to earn her own money or to gain a sense of purpose outside the home and school. These early forays into the world of work, though often mundane, provided her with a taste of self-sufficiency and further fueled her desire for an independent life. The thought of leaving Jamestown, of seeking opportunities in a larger, more vibrant setting, began to solidify in her mind, marking the beginning of her departure from the comfortable yet limited world she had always known. The lure of the performing arts began to exert a powerful influence on Lucille Ball during her formative years. While her early childhood had been touched by vaudeville through her grandfather, it was as a young woman that her personal fascination deepened. The flickering images of silent films, the vibrant energy of live theatre, and the stories of performers who captivated audiences had all contributed to a growing conviction that her own path lay within this captivating world. This burgeoning interest transcended mere entertainment. It became a deep-seated desire, a calling that promised a life far removed from the quiet predictability of Jamestown. In 1927, at the age of 16, this desire propelled her towards New York City. With the support of her family, particularly her mother and stepfather, she enrolled at the John Murray Anderson School for the Dramatic Arts. This institution, known for its rigorous training, represented her first tangible step toward realizing her theatrical ambitions. It was a place where many aspiring actors hoped to hone their craft and gain a foothold in the competitive world of professional performance. However, her initial experience at the school was marked by a profound disappointment. The reality of formal dramatic training proved to be quite different from the romanticized vision she might have held. She found herself surrounded by students who seemed more naturally gifted, more poised, and perhaps more confident in their abilities. Her instructors, including the renowned theatrical director John Murray Anderson himself, did not immediately recognize the raw talent that would later define her career. Instead, she was often overlooked, sometimes even dismissed. One notable contemporary at the school was Bette Davis, whose powerful presence and evident skill stood in stark contrast to Lucille's own perceived shortcomings at the time. This contrast only amplified her feelings of inadequacy. The feedback she received was often discouraging, suggesting a lack of natural aptitude for the stage. This early setback, rather than extinguishing her ambition, served as a quiet internal challenge. It was a difficult introduction to the harsh realities of the performing world, but it also became a foundational experience, shaping her resilience and reinforcing her determination to prove her critics wrong. The bright lights of Broadway and Hollywood still beckoned, despite this initial humbling encounter with formal dramatic education. New York City, with its towering ambitions and relentless pace, presented Lucille Ball with a stark reality far removed from her small-town aspirations. Her initial foray into formal dramatic training had ended with more discouragement than encouragement, yet her resolve to make a life in the performing arts remained. The city, however, offered no easy path. She quickly encountered the intensely competitive environment that characterized the theatrical world of the 1920s and early 1930s. Thousands of hopefuls, drawn by the allure of Broadway and the emerging film industry, vied for a limited number of roles, creating an atmosphere of constant struggle and frequent disappointment. Auditions became a regular, often humiliating ritual. She faced countless rejections, each one a small erosion of confidence, but never a complete defeat. Her distinctive appearance, particularly her striking red hair, which was not yet her signature colour, often worked against her in an industry that favoured a more conventional, sometimes bland, beauty ideal for chorus lines and minor roles. Casting directors frequently found her too exotic, too tall, or simply not fitting the mould they envisioned. These experiences were a harsh initiation into the subjective and often arbitrary nature of the entertainment business. Financial difficulties became an inescapable part of her daily existence. Money was scarce, and she often found herself struggling to afford basic necessities. To support herself, she took on a variety of odd jobs, none of which were glamorous or directly related to her artistic ambitions. She worked as a hat model, a cigarette girl, and even a demonstrator for a department store, showcasing whatever products needed a persuasive voice and an engaging presence. These temporary positions, while providing a meagre income, were physically and emotionally demanding, often leaving her exhausted but with little progress towards her true goal. Despite the persistent setbacks and the grinding reality of poverty, and this period in New York was crucial for the development of her character, she began to forge a remarkable resilience, an inner strength that allowed her to absorb rejection and continue forward. Each closed door, each dismissive comment rather than breaking her spirit seemed to temper it, making it more durable. She learned to navigate the impersonal vastness of the city, to rely on her own resourcefulness, and to maintain a quiet belief in her own potential, even when external validation was entirely absent. This era of struggle was a crucible, shaping the tenacious and determined woman who would eventually find her way to lasting success. The relentless cycle of auditions and rejections, coupled with the constant financial strain, eventually led Lucille Ball to a different avenue within New York's creative landscape: modelling. This transition marked a significant turning point, there offering a more stable income and a crucial stepping stone into the broader entertainment world. Recognizing the importance of a distinctive professional identity, she adopted the pseudonym Diane Belmont, a name that carried a certain elegance and anonymity, perhaps a conscious separation from her earlier, less successful attempts at acting. Her striking looks, particularly her tall stature, expressive eyes, and natural grace, made her well suited for modelling. She quickly found work, here posing for fashion designers, department stores, and even appearing in advertisements. This career provided a consistent, albeit modest, living, alleviating some of the acute financial pressures that had characterized her earlier years in the city. The regular employment and positive feedback from photographers and clients began to rebuild her confidence, which had been somewhat eroded by the harsh realities of the acting world. Modelling immersed her in an environment that, while not directly theatrical, was closely intertwined with the entertainment industry. She worked alongside other aspiring performers, encountered photographers who also shot for magazines and film studios, and observed the meticulous production process involved in creating polished visual narratives. This exposure offered her a valuable education in presentation, visual storytelling, and the subtle art of conveying emotion through stillness and expression. During this period, where a notable visual transformation also occurred. While her natural hair colour was a light brown, she began to experiment with lighter shades, eventually settling on a distinct platinum blonde. This choice was a conscious effort to stand out, to create a memorable persona in a competitive field. The striking blonde hair, combined with her evolving sense of style, contributed to a sophisticated and glamorous image that was increasingly recognized in print. Diane Belmont, the model, was building public profile, however nascent, and gaining an understanding of how to project an image that captivated an audience. This successful modelling career, born out of necessity, provided her with both financial stability and an invaluable apprenticeship in the visual arts, preparing her for the next phase of her journey. Lucille Ball's arrival and early struggles in New York City coincided with one of the most challenging economic periods in American history, the Great Depression. The stock market crash of 1929 had plunged the nation into widespread unemployment, poverty, and uncertainty. This overarching economic hardship cast a long shadow over every aspect of life, profoundly impacting the opportunities available to individuals, especially those aspiring to careers in the arts. For a young woman from Jamestown with limited resources and no established connections, navigating New York during this era was an even more formidable task. The entertainment industry itself, while often seen as an escape from the harsh realities of the time, was not immune to the Depression's effects. Budgets were tight, competition for roles was fierce, and the number of available positions in theatre and film was significantly reduced. This economic climate exacerbated the already difficult path of an aspiring actress, making each rejection more impactful and each small success more vital. Lucille's early experiences of financial hardship and the necessity of taking various odd jobs were not unique. They were a reflection of the broader societal struggles. In this environment, her burgeoning modelling career became not merely a stepping stone but a crucial mechanism for survival. The steady, if modest, income derived from modelling provided a lifeline that allowed her to remain in New York City, to pay rent, and to afford basic necessities. Without this consistent work, it is conceivable that she might have been forced to abandon her aspirations and return to upstate New York, like countless others who found themselves unable to make ends meet in the beleaguered metropolis. Modelling offered a degree of economic stability that was rare during the Depression, While still requiring diligent effort and facing its own competitive pressures, it presented more immediate and tangible employment opportunities than the often elusive world of acting. This practical necessity underscored the importance of her transformation into Diane Belmont. It was not just about image, it was about securing a livelihood in a time when work of any kind was a precious commodity. The Great Depression, therefore, shaped Lucille Ball's early career choices, forcing her into a pragmatic pursuit that ultimately honed her skills, built her resilience, and inadvertently paved the way for her future success. Just the path from New York City's modeling agencies to the glittering promise of Hollywood was often circuitous, but for Lucille Ball it eventually materialized. The early 1930s saw her make the significant transition from the East Coast to the burgeoning film capital of the West. This move was not a direct leap into stardom, but rather an entry point into the foundational layers of the studio system. She arrived in Hollywood as one of the Goldwyn Girls, a group of young women Samuel Goldwyn employed for background roles in his lavish musical productions. These Goldwyn Girls, along with similar groups at other studios, were essentially chorus members, dancers, and decorative presences in large-scale musical numbers. Their primary function was to add visual appeal and fill out grand scenes, often appearing in elaborate costumes, but rarely with speaking lines or individual recognition. For many, this was the closest they would come to a career in film. The work was demanding, requiring long hours, often repetitive movements, and a willingness to blend into the larger ensemble. It was a rigorous introduction to the disciplined, hierarchical world of studio filmmaking. Hollywood in this era was a place of intense competition, even for these supporting roles. Thousands of hopefuls flocked to California, drawn by the allure of the silver screen, and only a small fraction ever secured even a minor foothold. The atmosphere was one of constant scrutiny, where physical appearance, poise, and an ability to follow directions were paramount. There was always someone else waiting in the wings, eager to take a place. This environment fostered both camaraderie and fierce rivalry among the young women vying for attention and advancement. For Lucille Ball, being a Goldwyn Girl represented a foot in the door, a tangible connection to the industry she'd long pursued. It offered a steady, though modest, income and invaluable exposure to the mechanics of film production. She observed the work of directors, cinematographers, and leading actors, absorbing the rhythms and techniques of movie making from the ground up. This period, while seemingly insignificant in the grand scope of her career, provided a practical education in the craft and business of film. It was a proving ground, where her resilience and determination, already forged in New York, would continue to be tested and strengthened. From the ranks of the Goldwyn Girls, Lucille Ball began a slow ascent through the lower echelons of the film industry, a process characterized by a relentless series of bit parts and minor, often uncredited roles. This phase of her career was a testament to sheer persistence as she navigated the complex studio system of the 1930s. Her early filmography is a lengthy list of appearances where she might be seen for only a few seconds, delivering a single line, or simply serving as part of the background scenery. She played chorus girls, receptionists, party guests, and various unnamed characters. These roles, while seemingly insignificant, were the bread and butter for countless aspiring actors in Hollywood. Each brief appearance was an opportunity, however small, to be seen, to gain experience, and to earn a meagre living. The grind of studio work during this period was considerable. Days often began before dawn and stretched late into the night, encompassing wardrobe fittings, makeup sessions, hours of waiting on set, and the actual filming, which itself could involve numerous retakes. The pace was often dictated by the studio's production schedule, which demanded efficiency and speed to churn out dozens of films each year. Actors in minor roles were expected to be pliable, punctual, and prepared, or often without the luxury of extensive rehearsal or individual attention. The struggle to stand out in this environment was immense. Hollywood was a vast ecosystem of talent, with thousands of hopefuls vying for the precious few speaking roles that could lead to something more substantial. Lucille Ball, like many others, faced the constant challenge of making an impression within the confines of limited screen time and often generic characters. She learned to maximize every moment, to imbue even the smallest gesture or line reading with a distinct quality, hoping it would catch the eye of a director or producer. This period was not glamorous, but it was fundamental, building a foundation of practical on-set experience and a deep understanding of the demanding nature of film production. After several years of uncredited appearances and minor roles, a significant shift occurred in Lucille Ball's career trajectory. In 1935, she secured a contract with RKO Pictures. This was a pivotal moment, as a studio contract in the golden age of Hollywood represented a measure of stability and professional recognition that was highly coveted by aspiring actors. The studio system of that era was a powerful and pervasive force. Major studios like RKO operated as self-contained production factories, controlling every aspect of filmmaking from development to distribution. They maintained stables of actors, directors, writers, and crew members, and all under exclusive contracts. For an actor, this meant a steady paycheck, albeit often a modest one, and the assurance of regular work. However, it also meant a lack of autonomy. The studio dictated roles, image, and often even personal life details. For Lucille Ball, the RKO contract provided an anchor in the often turbulent waters of Hollywood. It lifted her from the anonymous ranks of extras and bit players, granting her a clearer path within the industry. Under this contract, she was cast in a particular type of role that became her early screen persona. She frequently portrayed independent, often feisty women, sometimes with a comedic edge. Her striking appearance, characterized by her vibrant hair and confident demeanor, often led to her being cast as a brassy blonde. These roles were predominantly in B-movies, lower-budget films that served as the second feature in double bills. While not prestige pictures, Just Us B-movies provided consistent work and a platform for actors to hone their craft. They were often melodramas, comedies, or crime stories, and Lucille Ball appeared in dozens of them during her time at RKO. The experience gained from these varied, if not always distinguished roles was invaluable, providing her with a comprehensive education in screen acting and the rhythms of film production. The years under contract at RKO Pictures, particularly her extensive involvement in B-movies, served as an unconventional but highly effective acting school for Lucille Ball. While formal dramatic training was available, her education largely occurred directly on the sound stages, through a process of immersion and observation. She appeared in a remarkable number of films during this period, sometimes completing several projects within a single year. Each role, regardless of its size or the film's budget, offered a new opportunity to practice and refine her craft. Working on these productions meant collaborating with a diverse array of actors, many of whom were seasoned character performers. These individuals, often unsung heroes of the studio system, possessed deep wells of experience and a practical understanding of screen acting. Lucille Ball, known for her keen observational skills, absorbed techniques from these veterans. She watched how they delivered lines, how they used their bodies to convey emotion, saw and how they adapted to the often rapid pace of B-movie production. It was a continuous process of learning by doing and by watching others do. This practical, on-the-job training provided her with an intimate understanding of filmmaking mechanics. She learned about camera angles, lighting, timing, and the subtle nuances required for performance in front of a lens. Unlike stage acting, where gestures can be broader, screen acting demands a more controlled and internal approach. Lucille Ball developed an instinct for this distinction, understanding how to project character and emotion effectively within the confines of a frame. Her ability to absorb and integrate these lessons from her surroundings proved to be a foundational element in her eventual mastery of comedic timing and dramatic expression. The B-movie grind, rather than being a hindrance, became a crucible in which her talents were forged. Lucille Ball's entry into Hollywood coincided with a period of significant transition in American cinema, specifically regarding moral and social censorship. The early 1930s, often referred to as the pre-code era, was a time when filmmakers operated with relative freedom. Movies frequently depicted themes that were considered risque by later standards, including overt sexuality, crime, drug use, and morally ambiguous characters who often escaped consequences. Dialogue could be suggestive, and costumes were sometimes revealing. This era reflected to some extent the social changes and loosening of Victorian norms that followed the Roaring Twenties. However, public pressure, largely from religious and conservative groups, mounted against what they perceived as Hollywood's moral decay. This led to the rigorous enforcement of the Motion Picture Production Code, commonly known as the Hays Code, beginning in mid-1934. The code was a set of industry guidelines that dictated what was morally acceptable on screen. It prohibited depictions of excessive violence, nudity, illicit sex, and disrespectful portrayals of religion or law enforcement. Marital infidelity, if shown, had to be punished. Criminals could not be glorified. The enforcement of the Hays Code profoundly altered the landscape of American cinema. Films became more constrained, often relying on subtlety and innuendo rather than explicit content. And this shift directly influenced the types of roles available to actresses like Lucille Ball. Characters, particularly women, were often expected to embody more virtuous or less complex personas. The sassy, independent, or morally ambiguous women of the pre-code era largely disappeared, replaced by characters who adhered more closely to conventional societal expectations. Actresses had to find ways to express personality and charm within these new, stricter boundaries, yet often through comedic timing or a compelling screen presence, rather than through provocative dialogue or revealing costuming. This new reality shaped the development of many careers, including Lucille Ball's, as she navigated a film industry increasingly under the watchful eye of censors. The year 1940 marked a pivotal moment in Lucille Ball's personal life, one that would irrevocably shape her future. It was during the production of the RKO musical comedy Too Many Girls that she first encountered Desiderio Alberto Arnaz y de Acha III, better known as Desi Arnaz. He was a Cuban bandleader and actor, brought to Hollywood to reprise his role from the Broadway stage version of the same production. The initial meeting was immediate and impactful. Lucille, then 28 years old, was already an established, if not yet star-level actress within the RKO studio system. Desi, just 23, thus possessed an undeniable charisma and a vibrant energy that set him apart. Their introduction on the set was reportedly a moment of instant mutual recognition, a powerful spark that ignited between them. Lucille found herself drawn to his exotic charm, his quick wit, and his evident passion for life and music. Desi, in turn, was captivated by Lucille's striking appearance, her fiery red hair, and her strong, independent spirit. Their attraction was intense and undeniable, yes, blossoming rapidly amidst the bustling environment of a film set. However, even in those initial moments, the distinct cultural differences between them were apparent. Lucille was a product of a small American town, with a practical, no-nonsense approach shaped by years of striving in New York and Hollywood. Desi hailed from a wealthy, aristocratic Cuban family, displaced by revolution, bringing with him a vibrant Latin temperament, a more demonstrative emotional style, and a background steeped in Cuban music and social traditions. These differences, while perhaps adding to the initial allure, also foreshadowed the complexities that would later define their relationship. Their whirlwind courtship culminated in marriage just a few months later, on November 30th, 1940. This hasty decision, driven by profound mutual attraction, was made against the backdrop of their differing worlds, always setting the stage for a partnership that would prove to be both intensely passionate and frequently challenging, yet undeniably transformative for both their lives and careers. The immediate attraction between Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz quickly escalated into a passionate whirlwind romance. Their courtship was swift, fueled by an undeniable chemistry and a mutual zest for life that seemed to defy the cautious conventions of the era. Within months of their first meeting on the set of Too Many Girls, they made the spontaneous decision to marry. On November 30th, 1940, Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz exchanged vows in Greenwich, Connecticut. The ceremony was discreet, a reflection of their desire for privacy amidst the public glare of Hollywood. This rapid progression from initial encounter to matrimony was characteristic of their impulsive natures, yet it also signalled a profound commitment. Their marriage, however, was unconventional for its time, particularly due to its cross-cultural dimensions. Hollywood, while often seen as progressive, still largely adhered to societal norms regarding ethnicity and marriage. The union of an American actress, known for her vibrant red hair and distinctly American sensibility, with a Cuban band leader whose heritage and temperament were distinctly different, was notable. Desi Arnaz, with his Latin rhythms and charismatic stage presence, represented a world quite distinct from Lucille's upbringing. This blending of cultures brought both richness and complexity to their relationship. Daisy's background as a scion of a prominent Cuban family, accustomed to a different social structure and a more expressive emotional landscape, contrasted with Lucille's more pragmatic, self-made American ethos. Their differing native languages and customs sometimes created amusing misunderstandings, but also deeper points of divergence that required constant navigation. For Lucille, marrying Desi meant embracing a broader worldview and adapting to a partner with a different set of expectations and a distinct cultural heritage. For Desi, it meant integrating into the established and at times rigid structures of American society and Hollywood, while striving to maintain his own identity. Their romance, while incredibly ardent, was thus also a continuous negotiation of these cultural landscapes, laying a unique foundation for their life together. Almost immediately following their marriage, Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz encountered significant challenges that tested the foundations of their intense bond. One of the most prominent issues was Desi's demanding career as a band leader. His orchestra was frequently on tour, requiring him to travel extensively across the country. This constant separation placed a considerable strain on their nascent marriage. Lucille, often left alone in Hollywood, navigated her burgeoning career in the isolation that frequent absence brings. Desi's touring schedule was also intertwined with his public persona, which included a reputation as a charismatic ladies' man. While his charm was undeniable and a key component of his stage appeal, it naturally became a source of concern and insecurity for Lucille. The constant rumours and the reality of his popularity with women on the road created an undercurrent of tension, challenging the trust and fidelity within their relationship. These were common pressures for many entertainers of the era, yet for Lucille and Desi, they were amplified by the intensity of their connection. Beyond the professional demands and public perceptions, cultural clashes also began to surface with increasing frequency. Lucille, grounded in a more reserved, pragmatic American upbringing, often found herself at odds with Desi's more effusive, passionate Cuban sensibilities. His late nights, his boisterous friends, and his sometimes grand, impulsive gestures were part of his identity, yet they often conflicted with Lucille's desire for stability and a more conventional domestic life. Despite these immediate and significant obstacles, the intensity of their bond remained a powerful force. Their passion for each other was a constant, a fiery core that persisted through the arguments and the periods of separation. It was a relationship characterized by both profound love and considerable turbulence, a dynamic that would continue to define their partnership for many years to come. The early years of their marriage were a testament to their deep connection, even as they navigated the complex interplay of their individual lives and cultural backgrounds. In the early 1940s, Lucille Ball made a significant career move, transitioning from RKO to the much larger and more prestigious Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, or MGM. This was a studio widely regarded as having more stars than there are in heaven, a place where top-tier talent was cultivated and showcased. For many actors, signing with MGM represented the pinnacle of Hollywood success and opportunity. Yet, for Lucille, the experience at MGM proved to be a complex blend of expectation and reality. Despite being under contract to such a powerful studio, Lucille often found herself cast in supporting roles. She was frequently overshadowed by the studio's more established leading ladies, those who were considered the primary draws for audiences. While she appeared in a steady stream of films, these were often B-movies, productions with smaller budgets and less artistic ambition, designed primarily to fill out double features at local cinemas. This consistent placement in lesser roles earned her the unofficial and somewhat frustrating a moniker of Queen of the Bees. This period at MGM was marked by a quiet frustration for Lucille. She possessed a strong work ethic and undeniable talent, which she felt was not being fully utilized or recognized by the studio system. She understood the hierarchical nature of Hollywood, but her ambition yearned for more substantial parts, roles that would allow her to truly demonstrate her range and comedic abilities. The repetitive nature of her assignments, either often playing the sassy best friend or the glamorous but secondary character, could be disheartening. However, her time at MGM was not without its benefits. It allowed her to continue honing her craft, working with different directors and actors, and gaining invaluable on-set experience. Each film, regardless of its budget or prestige, offered an opportunity to learn and refine her technique. This period of quiet perseverance further solidified her determination. She remained committed to her career, always seeking ways to improve and to break free from the limitations placed upon her. The frustration she experienced fueled a quiet resolve, a determination to eventually prove her capabilities beyond the confines of supporting roles and B-pictures. Her time at MGM, though not glamorous, was a crucial chapter in her development as a performer. Following her years within the studio system, Lucille Ball transitioned into a new medium that would prove pivotal for her career: radio. This shift, occurring in the late 1940s, offered a different kind of performance challenge and a unique opportunity for creative expression. Radio was a dominant form of home entertainment at the time, and its intimate nature allowed performers to connect with audiences solely through voice and sound. In 1948, Lucille took on the leading role in the CBS radio show My Favorite Husband. This program, which ran until 1951, cast her as Liz Cooper, a somewhat scatterbrained but endearing housewife navigating the humorous tribulations of domestic life. Her character was often involved in various schemes and misunderstandings, providing ample opportunity for physical comedy, even though it was a purely auditory medium. The nature of radio acting demanded a heightened sense of vocal expression and timing. Without visual cues, emotions, intentions, these uncomedic beats had to be conveyed entirely through intonation, pace, and the precise delivery of lines. This environment became an intensive training ground for Lucille. She developed a keen understanding of comedic rhythm, learning how to build a joke, pause for effect, and deliver punchlines with precision. The show allowed her to experiment with various vocal nuances, developing a distinct comedic persona that resonated with listeners. My Favorite Husband quickly became a popular program, attracting a loyal listenership. Lucille's portrayal of Liz Cooper was well received, demonstrating her ability to create a relatable and humorous character through sound alone. This sustained engagement with a comedic role week after week provided her with invaluable experience. It allowed her to refine her comedic timing, to understand what made audiences laugh, and to develop a unique style of performance that blended vulnerability with boisterous energy. The success of My Favorite Husband established Lucille Ball as a significant radio star and solidified her reputation as a formidable comedic talent. The character she developed on the airwaves, a well-meaning but often clumsy housewife, laid crucial groundwork for her future endeavours. It was through this radio program that she truly began to define the comedic persona that would eventually make her an icon, demonstrating her capacity to connect with a mass audience through humour and character. The success of My Favorite Husband on radio naturally led to discussions about its transition to the burgeoning medium of television. By the late 1940s and early 1950s, television was rapidly expanding, and networks sought proven concepts and popular personalities to fill their schedules. CBS, recognizing the appeal of Lucille Ball and the established fan base of her radio show, approached her with the idea of adapting My Favorite Husband for the small screen. However, Lucille Ball had a very specific vision for this potential television adaptation, one that diverged significantly from the network's initial plans. CBS executives envisioned a straightforward transfer of the radio show, complete with the same supporting cast and a different actor in the role of her husband. Lucille, however, was resolute in her desire to cast her real-life husband, Desi Arnaz, as her on-screen spouse. This insistence was not merely a romantic whim. It stemmed from a deep understanding of their unique chemistry and a strategic assessment of their combined professional strengths. Lucille believed that their real-life dynamic, their contrasting personalities, and Desi's musical talent and Latin charm would provide a richer, more authentic, and ultimately more compelling foundation for a television series. She understood that the visual medium of television would benefit immensely from their genuine connection and their ability to play off each other. Network executives, however, were initially resistant to this idea. Their concerns were primarily commercial and perceived cultural barriers. Here, they questioned whether American audiences would accept a Cuban bandleader as the husband of a quintessential American housewife. There were anxieties about Desi's accent, his ethnicity, and whether his professional background as a musician would translate effectively into a sitcom format. The prevailing wisdom at the time favoured homogeneous casting for mainstream appeal. Despite this resistance, Lucille Ball remained steadfast. Her conviction in Desi's abilities and their shared potential was unwavering. She recognised that this was not just about adapting a radio show, but about creating something entirely new, something that would harness their collective talents and personal connection. Her determination to have Desi by her side on screen became a non-negotiable point in the negotiations for what would eventually become I Love Lucy. And Lucille Ball's unwavering insistence on Desi Arnaz as her television husband ultimately led to a truly revolutionary decision, the formation of Desilu Productions. This was not merely a convenient arrangement. It was a groundbreaking move in the landscape of early television. At a time when networks and advertising agencies typically held complete control over programming, producing shows in-house and owning all rights, the concept of an independent production company run by the stars themselves was virtually unheard of. The networks, particularly CBS, were hesitant to relinquish their traditional control. However, Lucille and Desi, driven by their vision for the show and Desi's sharp business instincts, pushed for this autonomy. Desi Arnaz, in particular, demonstrated remarkable foresight and negotiating prowess. He understood that creative control and financial ownership were intrinsically linked. One of Desi's most significant and ultimately transformative demands was for Desilu Productions to own the negatives of I Love Lucy. This might seem like a technical detail, but its implications were profound. In the nascent days of television, live broadcasts were the norm, often kinescoped for later viewing in different time zones. These kinescopes were of inferior quality and were rarely considered valuable assets. Desi, however, saw the potential for higher quality filmed episodes. His insistence on filming I Love Lucy on 35mm film, rather than relying solely on live broadcast or kinescope, was itself a bold move, incurring greater upfront costs. But coupling this with the demand for ownership of these film negatives proved to be a stroke of genius. It meant that Desilu, and not CBS, would control the future syndication and rerun rights of the series. This was an unprecedented concept, as residuals and rerun revenue were not yet standard practice in television contracts. This pivotal negotiation laid the foundation for Desilu's future success, and profoundly impacted the financial model for television production across the industry. It was a testament to Desi Arnaz's often underestimated business acumen, securing a legacy for their work that far exceeded the initial broadcast. Beyond the groundbreaking business model, Desilu Productions also pioneered significant technical innovations that fundamentally altered the way television was made. The desire to capture the live energy of a stage performance combined with the need for high-quality filmable content led to the development of what became known as the multi-camera technique. Traditional film production typically used a single camera, requiring multiple takes and setups for different angles. For I Love Lucy, Desi Arnaz and cinematographer Carl Freund devised a system using 3 film cameras simultaneously. One camera captured a wide shot of the entire set, while the other 2 focused on tighter shots of individual actors or specific areas of the stage. This allowed for continuous filming of a scene from multiple perspectives, significantly speeding up production and capturing performances more organically. This 3-camera setup was revolutionary. It permitted the show to be filmed in sequence, much like a play, preserving the flow and comedic timing that Lucille Ball and her co-stars had perfected in radio and vaudeville. The footage from the 3 cameras could then be edited together seamlessly, creating a dynamic visual experience that maintained the spontaneity of a live performance while offering the polish of a filmed production. Furthermore, I Love Lucy was one of the first television programs to be filmed in front of a live studio audience. This decision was crucial for Lucille Ball, who thrived on audience reaction to gauge her comedic delivery. The laughter and applause were not merely added in post-production, they were authentic responses to the performance as it unfolded. This immediate feedback loop became an integral part of the show's creative process, enhancing the comedic rhythm and ensuring the jokes landed effectively. The insistence on using 35mm film, rather than the then common kinescopes for delayed broadcasts, was another pivotal choice. Kinescopes were essentially films of a television monitor, resulting in a grainy, low-fidelity image. Filming directly onto 35mm film stock provided a far superior picture quality, preserving the visual integrity of the show for decades. This decision not only made I Love Lucy visually appealing for its initial run, but also ensured its enduring quality for countless reruns, making it a timeless cultural artifact. These innovations at Desilu established production standards that would influence sitcoms and multi-camera productions for generations to come. With the innovative production methods in place, and the creative control firmly in their hands, I Love Lucy was finally ready for its debut. On October the 15th, 1951, the show premiered on CBS, introducing audiences to the zany antics of Lucy and Ricky Ricardo. The response was immediate and overwhelming. From its very first episode, the program captivated a nation, quickly ascending to the top ranks of television viewership. Yet the show's premise was simple yet resonant. A Cuban band leader and his vivacious, often scheming American wife navigating the everyday challenges of marriage, career, and domestic life in New York City. What truly set I Love Lucy apart, however, was its undeniable charm and the extraordinary chemistry between its two lead stars. Lucille Ball, with her rubbery facial expressions, impeccable timing, and fearless commitment to physical comedy, brought Lucy Ricardo to life with an exhilarating energy. She was unafraid to appear foolish or undignified, qualities that endeared her to millions. Desi Arnaz, as Ricky Ricardo, provided the perfect foil. His calm demeanour, his musical talent, and his endearing exasperation with Lucy's schemes created a dynamic that was both humorous and deeply affectionate. Their real-life marital bond translated authentically to the screen, while lending a layer of warmth and believability to their on-screen relationship. Audiences saw in Lucy and Ricky a relatable portrayal of married life, albeit one amplified for comedic effect. The rapid success of I Love Lucy was unprecedented. Within months, it became the most watched show in America, a position it would hold for 4 of its 6 seasons. Families gathered around their television sets each week, eagerly anticipating Lucy's latest misadventure, or whether it involved stomping grapes in Italy, working on a candy assembly line, or attempting to break into Ricky's nightclub act. The show's humour transcended age and background, creating a shared cultural experience in a rapidly expanding television landscape. I Love Lucy quickly evolved from a popular program into a genuine cultural touchstone. Its characters, catchphrases, and iconic comedic scenarios became embedded in the American consciousness. It was more than just entertainment. It was a phenomenon that reflected and shaped the burgeoning television era, demonstrating the power of a well-crafted story and the magnetic appeal of its stars. The meteoric rise of I Love Lucy was undeniably built upon the foundation of Lucille Ball's singular comedic genius. Her talent was not merely about delivering funny lines, it was a comprehensive artistry that encompassed every aspect of her performance. At the heart of her appeal was her mastery of physical comedy. A skill she had honed over years in vaudeville and film, she could contort her body into absurd positions, execute precise pratfalls, and engage in elaborate slapstick routines with a grace that belied the chaos. Whether wrestling a giant loaf of bread or battling an endless stream of chocolates on a conveyor belt, her movements were always deliberate, yet imbued with a sense of frantic desperation that elicited uproarious laughter. Yes, complementing her physical prowess was her extraordinarily expressive face. Lucille Ball possessed a remarkable ability to convey a vast spectrum of emotions without uttering a single word. A simple widening of her eyes, a subtle twitch of her mouth, or a full-blown contortion of her features could communicate dismay, mischievous delight, or utter panic. This visual storytelling was a cornerstone of I Love Lucy's humour, allowing for silent comedic beats that were as effective as any dialogue. But perhaps most significantly, Lucille Ball exhibited a profound and fearless commitment to the bit. She was willing to do whatever was necessary for the joke, regardless of how undignified or messy it might appear. There was no vanity in her performance. Her primary goal was always the laugh. This dedication allowed her to fully embody the character of Lucy Ricardo, a woman whose relentless pursuit of her ambitions, however misguided, often led her into hilariously embarrassing situations. In an era where female comedic roles often relied on demure wit or gentle teasing, Lucille Ball exploded onto the scene with a brand of humour that was bold, boisterous, and entirely her own. She broke free from the conventional molds, portraying a woman who was not afraid to be loud, clumsy, and defiantly unconventional. Her comedic style was empowering in its audacity, demonstrating that a woman could be both beautiful and hilariously uninhibited. A trailblazer who redefined what was possible for female performers in the nascent medium of television. While Lucille Ball's comedic brilliance captivated audiences, the enduring success and revolutionary impact of I Love Lucy cannot be fully understood without acknowledging the profound contributions of Desi Arnaz. His role extended far beyond that of a charismatic performer. Desi Arnaz was a visionary businessman and an indispensable creative partner whose foresight shaped the very landscape of television. Arnaz's business acumen was extraordinary, particularly for a performer of his era. He possessed an innate understanding of the financial and logistical complexities of television production, a medium still in its infancy. It was his unwavering insistence, often against network skepticism, that Desilu Productions retain ownership of the show's negatives. This decision, seemingly minor at the time, proved to be a stroke of genius, securing the long-term profitability of I Love Lucy through syndication and establishing a revolutionary model for independent television production. Beyond the financial architecture, Arnaz was deeply involved in the creative and technical aspects of the show. He was instrumental in developing the multi-camera technique, filming in front of a live studio audience, and a method that captured the spontaneity and energy of a live performance, while providing the flexibility of film editing. His background as a band leader gave him a unique understanding of pacing and audience engagement, which he applied directly to the show's format. He understood how to orchestrate comedic timing, how to blend musical numbers with narrative, and how to maintain a consistent high level of production quality. Desi Arnaz also championed the use of 35mm film, a decision that was more expensive than the industry standard kinescope recordings, but ensured a far superior visual quality. This commitment to excellence meant that I Love Lucy would not only be a hit in its time, but would also endure as a visually pristine classic, capable of repeated broadcast for generations. His leadership at Desilu was characterized by a hands-on approach, overseeing everything from budgets to set design. He cultivated a highly efficient and collaborative environment, and fostering an atmosphere where innovation could thrive. Thus, Desi Arnaz was not merely Lucille Ball's co-star and husband. He was the strategic architect and operational backbone of a television empire, a creative force whose intelligence and drive were as crucial to the legend of I Love Lucy as Lucille's unforgettable laughter. The immediate and widespread embrace of I Love Lucy by American audiences was deeply rooted in how its characters, particularly Lucy and Ricky Ricardo, reflected the aspirations and anxieties of the post-World War II era. The show offered a comforting yet often humorous mirror to domestic life, resonating with a nation navigating significant social and economic shifts. Lucy Ricardo, with her boundless energy and often misguided schemes, embodied a complex facet of the post-war woman. While the dominant societal narrative encouraged women to return to domestic roles after their wartime contributions, Lucy frequently yearned for a life beyond the confines of her apartment. Her persistent, if usually disastrous, attempts to break into Ricky's show business world, or to earn money independently, spoke to a burgeoning desire for self-expression and financial agency that many women felt, even as they managed households. She was not a career woman in the traditional sense, but her ambition, even when misplaced, was undeniably modern. Ricky Ricardo, the Cuban band leader striving for success in America, represented the aspirational immigrant experience and the burgeoning entertainment industry. His calm demeanor, often exasperated but always loving, provided a stable counterpoint to Lucy's antics. Their dynamic, a blend of cultural differences and shared marital frustrations, felt authentic to many couples. The show subtly explored themes of assimilation, cultural identity, and the pursuit of the American dream through Ricky's journey, and making him a relatable figure for a diverse audience. The Ricardos' apartment itself, modest yet comfortable, reflected the idealized suburban home that many Americans sought after the war. The show's portrayal of their friendships with Fred and Ethel Mertz also highlighted the importance of community and neighborly bonds in this new domestic landscape. I Love Lucy masterfully captured the everyday joys and challenges of married life, from budgeting woes to social faux pas, all wrapped in a blanket of humour that made these universal experiences feel less daunting and more universally shared. It became a cultural touchstone, reflecting the evolving domestic landscape of a nation finding its new rhythm. One of the most remarkable and pioneering decisions in the history of I Love Lucy involved the integration of Lucille Ball's real-life pregnancy into the show's narrative. This was a truly unprecedented move for American television in the early 1950s, and challenging the rigid moral codes and broadcast standards of the time. When Lucille Ball became pregnant with her second child, Desi Arnaz Jr., in 1952, the conventional wisdom of television networks dictated that such a visible state of pregnancy could not and should not be shown on screen. The prevailing attitudes viewed pregnancy as too intimate, too suggestive, and potentially offensive for public consumption, particularly in a family-oriented comedy. Advertisers, too, expressed concerns about how such a storyline might be perceived. However, Desi Arnaz, ever the shrewd and progressive producer, saw an opportunity. He recognized the immense relatability and inherent dramatic potential in Lucy Ricardo, experiencing pregnancy alongside Lucille Ball. He understood that audiences were deeply invested in the Ricardos' lives and would welcome this natural progression. Despite strong initial resistance from CBS and the show's sponsor, Philip Morris, Dia Arnaz and Ball were steadfast. Their previous success and their ownership of Desilu Productions gave them significant leverage, allowing them to push for this groundbreaking storyline. A careful and considered approach was adopted to navigate the delicate sensibilities of the era. The word pregnant itself was deemed too risque for broadcast. Instead, euphemisms such as expecting or with child were used. Scripts were meticulously reviewed by a Catholic priest, a rabbi, and a Protestant minister to ensure the content remained inoffensive and morally sound. The story arc itself was handled with a gentle touch, focusing on Lucy's comedic cravings, her growing discomfort, and the couple's anticipation rather than any explicit details. This groundbreaking decision not only allowed Lucille Ball to continue performing without interruption, but also brought a deeply human, universal experience to the small screen in a way that had never been seen before. It normalized pregnancy as a part of everyday life, presented with warmth and humor, and further solidified I Love Lucy as a show that, while comedic, was also remarkably progressive for its time. The public response was overwhelmingly positive, proving that audiences were ready for such honest portrayals even if gently delivered. The convergence of fiction and reality reached an unprecedented peak on January 19th, 1953. On this day, an event unfolded that would forever etch itself into the annals of television history, deeply intertwining the lives of Lucille Ball, her character Lucy Ricardo, and the American viewing public. That Monday evening, millions of households tuned in to watch the Lucy Goes to the Hospital episode of I Love Lucy. The storyline depicted Lucy Ricardo's frantic journey to the hospital to give birth to her baby. Simultaneously, on that very same day, Lucille Ball herself gave birth to her son, Desiderio Alberto Arnaz IV, known to the world as Desi Arnaz Jr. The timing was an extraordinary coincidence, an unplanned mirroring of life and art that captivated the nation. The viewership for Lucy Goes to the Hospital was staggering. It garnered an estimated 44 million viewers, a number that surpassed the audience for President Dwight D. Eisenhower's inauguration, which had occurred just the day before. This remarkable viewership underscored the profound connection audiences felt with the show and its characters. It demonstrated how deeply ingrained I Love Lucy had become in the fabric of American culture, transforming a television program into a shared national experience. The episode itself was a masterclass in comedic timing and emotional resonance, portraying the anxieties and joys of impending parenthood with a light-hearted touch. The birth of little Ricky on screen became a communal celebration, amplified by the knowledge that Lucille Ball had just welcomed her own child. The lines between the fictional Ricardo family and the real-life Arnaz family blurred in the public consciousness, creating an almost familial bond with the stars. This unique synchronicity cemented the show's place in popular culture. It was more than just an episode. It was a cultural phenomenon that highlighted the power of television to connect people and reflect their lives. The event demonstrated how a fictional narrative could become deeply personal for millions, fostering a sense of shared experience and collective anticipation. The birth of little Ricky, both on screen and in reality, became a defining moment for I Love Lucy, and for early television itself, or illustrating the medium's burgeoning influence and its capacity to create lasting cultural memories. The immense success of I Love Lucy provided a robust foundation for Desilu Productions, enabling it to expand rapidly throughout the 1950s. What began as a venture to produce a single television show quickly evolved into one of the most powerful and innovative independent production companies in Hollywood. So this growth was a direct testament to the foresight and entrepreneurial spirit of Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, who had initially struggled to convince network executives of their vision. Desilu's facilities grew substantially. The need for more production space led to significant acquisitions, most notably the purchase of the former RKO Pathé studio lot in Culver City in 1957. This acquisition was a bold move, transforming Desilu into a major studio with multiple sound stages, editing suites, and administrative offices. It represented a physical manifestation of their expanding influence within the industry. Beyond I Love Lucy, Desilu became a prolific producer of other iconic television programs that shaped the golden age of television. Their sound stages and production teams were responsible for bringing numerous beloved shows to the small screen. Programs such as The Danny Thomas Show, The Untouchables, and Our Miss Brooks were all Desilu productions. These shows, each successful in its own right, further solidified Desilu's reputation for quality and innovation. The company also played a crucial role in the production of Star Trek, the original series, and Mission Impossible in the 1960s, demonstrating its continued relevance and adaptability even after the initial I Love Lucy era. Desilu's willingness to invest in new concepts and push technological boundaries made it a fertile ground for creative talent and groundbreaking storytelling. Then Desilu's influence extended beyond simply producing shows. It pioneered many of the business practices that would become standard in television, including syndication and the management of intellectual property. Their early decision to own the negatives of I Love Lucy allowed them to profit immensely from reruns, setting a precedent for how television assets would be valued and exploited in the future. By the end of the 1950s, Desilu Productions was not merely a production company. It was a cornerstone of the burgeoning television industry. Its growth reflected a period of immense change and innovation in entertainment, with Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz at its helm, guiding its trajectory with a blend of creativity, business acumen, and an unwavering commitment to quality. Their vision transformed a fledgling medium into a powerful cultural force, leaving an indelible mark on how television shows were made and consumed. The early 1950s in America were marked by a pervasive climate of suspicion and fear, a period commonly referred to as the McCarthy era. This era saw widespread anti-communist sentiment, leading to investigations and accusations that profoundly impacted many lives, particularly those in the entertainment industry. Even as Lucille Ball's career reached unprecedented heights with I Love Lucy, she found herself unexpectedly entangled in this intense political scrutiny. The issue stemmed from an investigation by the House Un-American Activities Committee, or HUAC, which was actively seeking to identify perceived communist sympathizers. In September 1953, it was publicly revealed that Lucille Ball had registered to vote as a communist in 1936. This revelation, though nearly 2 decades old, posed a serious threat to her career and the future of Desilu Productions, given the highly charged political atmosphere of the time. The initial news caused considerable anxiety within the industry and among the public. For many celebrities, even a distant association with communism could lead to blacklisting and the abrupt end of their careers. The potential ramifications for I Love Lucy, a show watched by millions of American families, were immense. However, the situation quickly found clarification. It was explained that Lucille Ball's registration had been a gesture made at the urging of her socialist grandfather, Fred Hunt, a man for whom she held deep affection and respect. He had encouraged her and other family members to register as a way to honour his political beliefs, which were rooted in a desire for social justice rather than revolutionary ideology. Lucille Ball herself had never been an active member of the Communist Party, nor had she held communist sympathies. Her political leanings were generally moderate, and her focus remained on her acting career and family. Desi Arnaz, her husband and business partner, played a crucial role in publicly addressing the accusations. He famously introduced her to the studio audience on a live taping of I Love Lucy by saying, "The only thing red about Lucy is her hair, and that's not even real." This light-hearted yet firm statement, delivered with his characteristic charm, helped to diffuse the tension and reassure the public. Ultimately, the investigation concluded without any adverse findings against Lucille Ball. The committee cleared her, recognizing that her registration was an isolated youthful act influenced by her grandfather and not indicative of any subversive activities or beliefs. The incident, while momentarily unsettling, did not significantly derail her career or the success of I Love Lucy. Instead, it served as a poignant reminder of the era's complexities and the delicate balance between public perception and personal history during a time of national apprehension. While Lucille Productions continued its ascent, becoming a formidable force in the burgeoning television landscape, the personal lives of its founders, Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, were experiencing a different trajectory. The extraordinary pressures that accompanied their immense success began to exert a heavy toll on their marriage. The demands of running a major studio, overseeing multiple productions, and starring in one of the most popular shows in history created an environment of relentless work and public scrutiny. Desi Arnaz, in particular, carried a substantial burden. As the head of Desilu, he was deeply involved in the business's intricate operations, from financial management to technical innovations. His dedication to the studio's growth was undeniable, yet the stress of this extensive responsibility began to manifest in increasingly problematic ways. His reliance on alcohol became more pronounced, a habit that had been present but grew more severe under the weight of his professional obligations. This escalating drinking contributed significantly to the erosion of their marital foundation. Arguments became more frequent and intense, fueled by the frustrations and exhaustion inherent in their demanding lives. Lucille, who had always been deeply committed to her family and the stability of her home, had found herself increasingly isolated by Desi's habits. Adding to the complexity of their situation were persistent rumours and instances of Desi Arnaz's infidelity. These outside relationships, though often discreet, were known to Lucille and further fractured the trust and intimacy that had once defined their passionate connection. The contrast between their idealised on-screen marriage as Lucy and Ricky Ricardo and the growing discord in their private lives became stark. The public image of a perfectly harmonious couple, a cornerstone of I Love Lucy's appeal, stood in sharp contrast to the reality unfolding behind closed doors. The energy and vitality they poured into their characters masked the deepening cracks in their personal relationship. The very success they had built together, an empire of laughter and innovation, paradoxically became a source of profound personal strain, pushing them further apart rather than closer together. The immense professional triumphs of Desilu were increasingly overshadowed by the quiet unravelling of their personal bond, a slow and painful process that would eventually lead to irreversible changes. By 1957, after 6 seasons of unparalleled success, the decision was made to conclude the regular run of I Love Lucy. This was not a sudden choice, but rather the culmination of several evolving factors, both personal and professional. The relentless schedule of producing 30 to 39 episodes annually had taken an undiscernible toll on everyone involved, particularly on Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, who were not only the show's stars but also the driving forces behind Desilu Productions. The weekly grind of rehearsals, script memorization, and live studio performances, coupled with the immense responsibilities of running a major studio, had become unsustainable. Lucille, despite her dedication to her craft and her character, yearned for a less demanding pace, one that would allow for more time with her children and a greater sense of personal equilibrium. Desi too felt the weight of constant production, even as he thrived in his role as a studio executive. Furthermore, the landscape of television itself was beginning to shift. While I Love Lucy remained immensely popular, the industry was exploring new formats and longer, less frequent presentations. The concept of anthology series and special presentations was gaining traction, offering a different kind of viewing experience. Moving away from the traditional weekly sitcom format allowed for greater flexibility and the opportunity to produce higher-budget, more expansive episodes. Thus, I Love Lucy gracefully transitioned into the Lucy Desi Comedy Hour. This new format consisted of hour-long specials, typically airing only a few times a year, rather than a weekly half-hour commitment. This change represented a strategic move, allowing the beloved characters of Lucy and Ricky Ricardo, along with Fred and Ethel Mertz, to continue their comedic escapades but on a grander scale, and with significantly reduced production demands. The shift was presented to the public as an evolution, a way to offer more elaborate stories and guest stars, while in reality it was also a much-needed concession to the human cost of their prior success. Yeah, it was an attempt to maintain the magic of their on-screen chemistry, while alleviating the intense pressures that were eroding their off-screen lives. The show's core appeal remained, but its delivery adapted to both the changing industry and the personal needs of its stars. The transition to the Lucy Desi Comedy Hour in 1957, while offering a reprieve from the intense weekly production schedule, could not ultimately mend the deep fissures that had developed within Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz's marriage. By 1960, after 2 decades together, a partnership that had captivated millions on screen and revolutionized an industry off-screen, finally dissolved. On March 4, 1960, Lucille Ball filed for divorce from Desi Arnaz in Santa Monica, California, citing extreme cruelty. The news reverberated through the public consciousness. For many, Lucille and Desi were inseparable, their on-screen marriage a comforting, idealized reflection of domestic life. The public struggled to reconcile the image of the loving, albeit comically bickering Ricardos with the reality of their star's marital breakdown. There was a palpable sense of disappointment and sadness among their vast audience, as if a cherished part of their shared cultural landscape had been irrevocably altered. For Lucille and Desi themselves, the personal toll was immense. Despite the public facade of their marriage, the private struggles had been ongoing for years. Desi's struggles with alcoholism and his infidelity, coupled with the relentless pressure of their shared empire, had created an unbearable strain. The decision to divorce was not made lightly, and it carried with it profound emotional weight for both of them, particularly given their 2 children, Lucy and Desi Jr. Yet, even in the wake of their divorce, a remarkable aspect of their relationship endured, a deep-seated professional respect and a continuing bond. They remained business partners, at least for a time, at Desilu Productions. More significantly, they maintained a genuine affection and concern for one another throughout their lives. Despite the pain of their separation, they never descended into bitter animosity. Their shared history, their children, and the monumental creative achievement of I Love Lucy forged a connection that transcended the end of their marital union. This continued respect, though perhaps less visible to the public, was a testament to the complex and enduring nature of their bond even as their personal lives diverged. The dissolution of their marriage in 1960 did not immediately sever the professional ties between Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. Their shared creation, Desilu Productions, remained a powerful entity in Hollywood, a testament to their combined vision and business acumen. However, the dynamics within the company naturally shifted following their divorce. Desi Arnaz, grappling with his personal challenges and the immense responsibilities of running a sprawling studio, eventually expressed a desire to step away from the day-to-day operations. In 1962, a pivotal moment arrived for both Lucille Ball and the landscape of American entertainment. Lucille Ball made the audacious and historically significant decision to buy out Desi Arnaz's shares in Desilu Productions. This transaction, occurring in the early 1960s, was not merely a financial maneuver. It was a profound declaration of independence and capability. With this acquisition, Lucille Ball became the sole head of Desilu Productions, making her the first woman to preside over a major Hollywood studio. This achievement was nothing short of revolutionary, or in an industry overwhelmingly dominated by men, Lucille Ball broke through an invisible ceiling, assuming control of a company responsible for some of television's most iconic programming. Desilu was not just a production company. It was a studio with extensive facilities, sound stages, and a vast administrative apparatus. To lead such an enterprise required not only creative vision but also shrewd business sense, financial acumen, and an unwavering resolve. Her ascent to this position underscored her extraordinary journey from a struggling actress to an entertainment mogul. It demonstrated a strength and determination that had always been present, but were now fully unleashed in a leadership role. This move solidified her legacy not only as a comedic icon, but also as a trailblazing businesswoman, paving the way for future generations of women in positions of power within the entertainment industry. Now, the significance of this moment extended far beyond the walls of Desilu. It sent a clear message about the capabilities of women in leadership roles, challenging entrenched norms within one of the world's most influential industries. Assuming the helm of Desilu Productions brought with it a new set of responsibilities and an immediate immersion into the complex world of studio management. While Lucille Ball had always been intimately involved in the creative aspects of their productions and had certainly understood the business side from a performer's and producer's perspective, becoming the sole CEO was a different endeavour entirely. The day-to-day operations of a major studio encompassed far more than just casting and scripts. It involved intricate financial dealings, union negotiations, property management, and strategic planning for future projects across various divisions. Lucille Ball approached these challenges with her characteristic determination. She understood that she needed to quickly assimilate a vast amount of information and develop skills that were not inherently part of her acting repertoire. She dedicated herself to learning the intricacies of balance sheets, budget projections, and contract law. This period was a steep learning curve, requiring long hours and an intense focus on the operational realities of a multi-million-dollar enterprise. Despite her established reputation and the immense success of Desilu under her co-leadership with Decianas, she was not entirely immune to the prevailing attitudes of the time. In many circles, a woman leading such a prominent company was an anomaly. There were instances of skepticism, particularly from some male counterparts within the industry, who questioned her ability to manage the vast financial and logistical complexities of a major studio. Some may have underestimated her, perhaps viewing her primarily as a comedic actress rather than a formidable businesswoman. However, Lucille Ball met this skepticism not with defensiveness, but with a quiet resolve and an unwavering commitment to proving her capabilities through action and results. Her inherent understanding of the entertainment business, coupled with her sharp intelligence and an unyielding work ethic, allowed her to navigate these waters. She learned quickly, surrounded herself with competent advisors, and made decisions that continued to steer Desilu Productions towards further success, effectively silencing many of the doubts that may have initially surfaced. With the significant shift in her personal life and her new role as the head of Desilu, Lucille Ball recognized the necessity of creating a fresh comedic vehicle for herself. The era of I Love Lucy and the Lucy Desi Comedy Hour had concluded, and while those programs remained beloved, television audiences were ready for something new. In the fall of 1962, a new series simply titled The Lucy Show premiered, marking a significant new chapter in her television career. This new program aimed to recapture the magic of her previous successes while forging its own distinct identity. It presented Lucille Ball in a new comedic scenario, allowing her to explore different character dynamics and situations. The premise involved a widowed woman, Lucy Carmichael, managing her life with children and a best friend, Vivian Bagley, played by her longtime colleague Vivian Vance. The creation of The Lucy Show presented a unique challenge, establishing a new ensemble cast that could resonate with viewers accustomed to the iconic characters of I Love Lucy. The chemistry between Lucy and Ethel, and the dynamic with Ricky and Fred, had been deeply ingrained in the public consciousness for over a decade, whilst building new relationships and comedic foils that felt equally natural and engaging was a delicate task. Lucille Ball, alongside her creative team, worked to craft new character relationships that would allow her particular brand of physical comedy and expressive performance to shine. The casting of Vivian Vance was a deliberate choice, leveraging a proven comedic partnership that audiences already cherished. However, the new show aimed to differentiate itself, offering fresh storylines and a slightly altered tone, while still providing the comfort and familiarity of Ball's beloved comedic persona. This transition required careful writing and nuanced performances to ensure that The Lucy Show could stand on its own merits, rather than simply being a replication of past glories. It represented her continued commitment to television comedy, even as her life and career evolved dramatically. Amidst the profound changes in her professional life, Lucille Ball also found new personal contentment. In 1961, a year after her divorce from Decianas, she married Gary Morton, a comedian and Borscht Belt performer. Their meeting was facilitated by mutual friends, and the relationship quickly blossomed into a deep connection. This second marriage presented a notably different dynamic from her first. The relationship with Desi Arnaz had been characterized by a passionate, yet often tumultuous intensity, intertwined with immense professional collaboration and the pressures of building an entertainment empire together. It was a partnership of two strong, ambitious individuals, frequently clashing as much as they complemented each other. With Gary Morton, Lucille Ball discovered a different kind of companionship. Morton was known for his calm demeanour, his quiet strength, and his unwavering devotion. He was not a showman in the same vein as Desi Arnaz. His ambition did not compete with hers, nor did he seek the same kind of spotlight. Instead, he provided a steadying presence, a source of unwavering support that had perhaps been absent during the more turbulent periods of her earlier life. Morton understood the demands of the entertainment industry, having worked within it himself, yet he seemed content to remain in the background, offering practical assistance and emotional stability. He became her rock, a gentle anchor in the often stormy seas of Hollywood. This stability allowed Lucille Ball to focus on her demanding roles as a studio executive and a television star, knowing she had a secure and peaceful home life. Their marriage, which lasted until her death, was marked by a quiet domesticity and mutual respect. Morton took on the role of managing her personal affairs, shielding her from many of the day-to-day stresses and providing a sense of normalcy and calm that had long eluded her. This partnership, built on a foundation of steadfast affection and support, proved to be profoundly important in the later decades of her life, offering a tranquil counterpoint to her public persona. Beyond her own on-screen performances and the rigorous demands of studio management, Lucille Ball, as the head of Desilu, demonstrated a significant commitment to fostering new talent. Her experience as an aspiring actress who had faced numerous rejections and a long and arduous climb to stardom seemed to instill in her a particular empathy for those trying to make their mark in the industry. She possessed a keen eye for potential, often recognizing sparks of brilliance in emerging actors, writers, and directors. Under her leadership, Desilu became a nurturing ground for a diverse range of projects. While The Lucy Show was her primary vehicle, the studio's output extended far beyond her personal brand. She understood that a thriving studio needed a constant influx of fresh ideas and new faces. This vision led Desilu to develop and produce a variety of programs, some of which would go on to achieve iconic status. Perhaps the most enduring example of her foresight was her decision to greenlight Star Trek. Despite initial skepticism from network executives about the science fiction genre and its commercial viability, Lucille Ball saw the potential in Gene Roddenberry's ambitious concept. She reportedly overruled internal objections and used her authority to push the project forward, providing the necessary funding and studio resources for its development. Her belief in Star Trek ultimately brought one of television's most enduring franchises to life, demonstrating a willingness to take risks on unconventional ideas. Similarly, she championed Mission Impossible, another series that would become a cultural touchstone. These decisions were not simply business transactions. They reflected a deeper understanding of storytelling and a genuine desire to cultivate innovative programming. Lucille Ball's role extended beyond mere production oversight. She often offered direct guidance, sharing insights from her decades in the business. She aimed to create an environment where creativity could flourish, providing opportunities for individuals who might otherwise have struggled to gain a foothold in the competitive world of television. Her legacy at Desilu, therefore, is not only about the shows she starred in, but also about the many talents she helped launch and the groundbreaking series she brought to the screen. The weight of running a major studio, even for someone as capable and determined as Lucille Ball, eventually began to exert a significant toll. By 1967, Desilu Productions, under her sole leadership, had grown considerably, producing a remarkable slate of programming beyond her own starring vehicles. Yet, the immense responsibilities of overseeing all aspects of the studio's operations, from financial management to creative development, from facility maintenance to talent negotiations, were relentless. the entertainment industry was also undergoing rapid shifts, with increasing consolidation and the rise of larger corporate entities. Desilu, while successful, faced intensifying competition and the constant pressure to secure financing for new projects and maintain its extensive studio lot. These financial pressures, though often unseen by the public, were a continuous challenge for Ball. She had proven herself an astute businesswoman, navigating complex deals and making difficult decisions, but the sheer scale of the enterprise was demanding. Moreover, despite her undeniable prowess as a studio executive, Lucille Ball's deepest passion remained performing. The daily grind of executive tasks, while necessary, diverted her energy and focus away from her true artistry. She loved the creative process, the collaborative work on set, and the immediate connection with an audience that acting provided. The role of CEO, while groundbreaking, was ultimately a secondary ambition to her desire to entertain. Consequently, a pivotal decision was made in 1967. Lucille Ball opted to sell Desilu Productions to Gulf Plus Western, the conglomerate that owned Paramount Pictures. The sale marked the end of an extraordinary era for the independent studio she and Desi Arnaz had built. The transaction brought a substantial sum, reportedly $17 million, to Ball, providing financial security and relief from the intense managerial burdens. This move allowed her to step back from the daily pressures of studio ownership and management, freeing her to concentrate primarily on her performing career. She continued to star in The Lucy Show, which remained a top-rated program. The sale was a strategic pivot, enabling her to reprioritize her creative endeavors and lighten a load that had become increasingly heavy, even for her formidable shoulders. It was a recognition that while she could successfully run a studio, her heart truly lay in front of the camera. Though Lucille Ball eventually sold Desilu Productions, the studio's profound impact on television history endured far beyond her ownership. The legacy of Desilu is not solely defined by the groundbreaking success of I Love Lucy or The Lucy Show, but also by its pivotal role in bringing two of the most iconic and enduring series to the screen, Star Trek and Mission Impossible. Lucille Ball's decision to greenlight these ambitious projects, often against the initial skepticism of network executives, stands as a testament to her foresight and willingness to embrace innovative storytelling. Star Trek, created by Gene Roddenberry, presented a vision of humanity's future filled with exploration, diversity, and philosophical inquiry. Its initial pilot was famously rejected by NBC, but Ball, convinced of its potential, personally intervened. She used her influence and committed Desilu's resources to fund a second pilot, an unprecedented move at the time. This unwavering belief ultimately led to Star Trek becoming a cultural touchstone, inspiring generations and spawning a vast multimedia franchise that continues to thrive decades later. Without her intervention, the Starship Enterprise might never have launched. Similarly, Mission Impossible, a spy thriller created by Bruce Geller, pushed the boundaries of television drama with its intricate plots, ensemble cast, and signature self-destructing messages. Desilu provided the production infrastructure and creative environment for this series to flourish. It quickly became a critical and commercial success, celebrated for its sophisticated storytelling and innovative visual style. Mission Impossible also evolved into a long-running franchise, demonstrating the enduring appeal of its core concept. These two series, conceived and nurtured under the Desilu banner during Ball's tenure as its head, cemented the studio's reputation for producing quality, forward-thinking television. They showcased a commitment to imaginative narratives that transcended the typical sitcoms and dramas of the era. Lucille Ball's willingness to take risks on unconventional ideas, coupled with Desilu's robust production capabilities, provided the fertile ground necessary for Star Trek and Mission Impossible to take root and blossom into the cultural phenomena they remain today. Her influence, therefore, extended far beyond her comedic performances, thus shaping the landscape of television for generations to come. After divesting herself of the immense responsibilities of studio management, Lucille Ball was free to concentrate on her true passion, performing. Her desire to continue making people laugh, combined with a natural evolution in her personal life, led to her third successful sitcom, Here's Lucy. Debuting in 1968, this new venture allowed her to remain a prominent figure on television screens, albeit in a slightly altered format, and so as Here's Lucy aired on CBS, the same network that had been home to her previous triumphs. The show followed the comedic misadventures of Lucy Carter, a single mother working for her brother-in-law, played by Gail Gordon, who had also been a familiar presence in The Lucy Show. This new series, however, introduced a deeply personal element that resonated with audiences. Ball's real-life children, Lucy Arnaz and Desi Arnaz Jr., joined the cast, playing her fictional children. This integration of her family into her professional life offered a unique dimension to Here's Lucy. It allowed viewers to witness a more mature, yet still delightfully clumsy, version of Lucille Ball's comedic persona, now interacting with her actual offspring. For Ball herself, it provided an opportunity to blend her roles as a mother and an entertainer in a way that felt authentic and endearing. She could guide her children in their burgeoning acting careers, yet sharing her vast experience and wisdom directly on set. The show maintained the classic Lucy formula of physical comedy, elaborate schemes, and guest star appearances, but the presence of Lucy and Desi Jr. added a layer of warmth and genuine family dynamic. It allowed the audience to see glimpses of the woman behind the iconic character, a mother navigating the everyday challenges of raising teenagers, albeit through a comedic lens. Here's Lucy proved to be another durable success, running for 6 seasons until 1974. It demonstrated Lucille Ball's enduring appeal and her capacity to adapt her comedic genius to new scenarios, always finding fresh ways to connect with her audience while keeping her loved ones close at hand. This period marked a harmonious convergence of her personal contentment and her professional fulfillment. Following the conclusion of Here's Lucy in 1974, Lucille Ball did not retire from the public eye. Instead, her career entered a new phase, characterized by a more selective approach to projects. She continued to appear on television, though less frequently in a regular series format. This period saw her engaging in a variety of television specials and making guest appearances on other programs, allowing her to explore different comedic avenues and maintain a connection with her audience without the demanding schedule of a weekly show. These television endeavors often showcased her versatility, moving beyond the familiar Lucy Ricardo archetype. She participated in celebrity roasts, lent her voice to animated features, and appeared in dramatic roles that allowed her to demonstrate a broader range of her acting capabilities. These appearances served to remind the public of her enduring talent and her status as a beloved entertainment icon. In the midst of these television commitments, Ball also made a notable return to the big screen with the 1974 musical film Mam. This adaptation of the popular Broadway musical saw her taking on the titular role of the eccentric, free-spirited Mame Dennis. The film represented a significant undertaking, requiring both comedic timing and musical performance. However, upon its release, Mame received a mixed reception from critics and audiences. While some appreciated Ball's effort and charm, many found her portrayal to be a departure from the character's established stage presence, and the film did not achieve the commercial or critical success anticipated. Despite the outcome of Mame, this period demonstrated Ball's willingness to continue challenging herself and exploring new creative avenues. Her later television appearances and her venture into feature films, even with varying degrees of success, underscored her lasting commitment to her craft and her desire to remain an active participant in the evolving landscape of entertainment. She continued to be a presence, choosing roles that intrigued her, even if they did not always recapture the monumental success of her earlier sitcoms. As Lucille Ball navigated her career in the post-Here's Lucy era, the medium of television itself was undergoing significant transformations. The landscape that had been so familiar to her, one dominated by a few major networks and relatively stable programming formulas, was beginning to shift. New formats were emerging and challenging the established norms and presenting both opportunities and difficulties for seasoned performers. The 1970s and early 1980s witnessed a diversification of television content. While traditional sitcoms and variety shows still held sway, there was a growing appetite for more realistic dramas, issue-oriented programming, and innovative sketch comedy. Cable television, though still in its nascent stages, was slowly expanding its reach, promising a future of increased channel options and niche programming. This evolving environment meant that the broad appeal that had characterized the golden age of television was becoming more fragmented. For established stars like Lucille Ball, whose careers had flourished in a different era, adapting to these evolving tastes presented unique challenges. The comedic sensibilities that had made her a household name in the 1950s and 60s, while still appreciated, were viewed through a new lens by a younger generation of viewers. The slapstick and physical comedy that were her hallmarks sometimes felt out of step with the more nuanced or cynical humour gaining traction. Furthermore, the industry itself was becoming more youth-centric. Networks were increasingly looking for fresh faces and innovative concepts to capture new demographics. This created a tension between honouring the legends of the past and embracing the perceived future of television. While Ball's iconic status ensured her continued relevance for many, securing new, long-running projects that resonated with a broader, changing audience proved to be a more complex endeavour. The medium she had helped to define was now defining itself anew, often in ways that required adjustments from even its most celebrated pioneers. Throughout her extensive and impactful career, Lucille Ball received a remarkable array of awards and recognitions, and testaments to her enduring talent and her profound influence on the entertainment industry. These accolades often marked significant milestones, acknowledging her contributions as a performer, a producer, and a pioneering figure in television. Among the most prominent of these were her numerous Emmy Awards, which celebrated her comedic brilliance and her ability to consistently captivate audiences. She was nominated for 13 Primetime Emmy Awards, ultimately winning 4, primarily for her work on I Love Lucy and The Lucy Show. These awards underscored her consistent excellence in the highly competitive field of television comedy, validating her unique approach to character and her impeccable timing. Each win further cemented her status as a beloved and respected artist. Beyond the Emmys, Ball was honoured with other prestigious industry awards. In 1960, she received the Golden Globe Cecil B. DeMille Award, a lifetime achievement honour presented by the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. This particular award acknowledged her significant contributions to the world of entertainment, recognising her body of work in both film and television, and her lasting legacy within the broader cultural landscape. It was a recognition not just of a single performance, but of an entire career dedicated to the craft. Later in her life, her pioneering spirit and lasting impact were further recognised through her induction into the Television Academy Hall of Fame in 1984. This honour placed her among the most revered figures in television history, acknowledging her revolutionary work in establishing the sitcom format, her business acumen in running Desilu Productions, and her unparalleled comedic genius. Her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, dedicated in 1960, yet also served as a permanent public tribute to her widespread appeal and enduring popularity. These recognitions collectively painted a comprehensive picture of a career marked by innovation, laughter, and profound influence. Amidst the whirlwind of her professional life, Lucille Ball also navigated the profound responsibilities of motherhood, raising her two children, Lucy and Desi Jr., with Desi Arnaz. This aspect of her life presented its own distinct set of challenges and joys, as she endeavoured to balance an intensely demanding career with the desire to provide a stable and loving home. The complexities of her public persona and private family life were often intertwined. While her on-screen pregnancy with little Ricky on I Love Lucy broke new ground in television, her real-life experiences as a mother were far more personal and often shielded from the public eye. She strove to create a sense of normalcy for her children, yet despite their parents being two of the most famous people in America. This often meant making conscious decisions about their upbringing, attempting to shield them from the more intrusive aspects of celebrity. Lucille Ball's commitment to her children was evident in her efforts to integrate them into her later professional endeavours, such as Here's Lucy. This decision allowed her to spend more time with Lucy and Desi Jr., and blending her work life with her family life in a way that many working mothers of her era could only dream of. It was a practical solution that also offered her children a unique insight into their mother's world, fostering a shared experience that transcended the typical parent-child dynamic. Despite the inevitable pressures of fame and the eventual dissolution of her marriage to Desi Arnaz, Lucille Ball remained dedicated to her children's well-being. She endeavoured to instill in them a strong work ethic and a sense of groundedness, values she herself held dear. Her approach to motherhood reflected a deep love and a persistent effort to provide a supportive environment, even as her own life unfolded under the constant gaze of public attention. The balance was never easy, yet her devotion to Lucy and Desi Jr. remained a consistent thread throughout her remarkable life. The narrative of Lucille Ball's life would be incomplete without acknowledging the profound and enduring bond she shared with Desi Arnaz, even after their divorce. Despite the dissolution of their marriage, their relationship evolved into a deep and abiding friendship, characterized by mutual respect and a shared history that few could comprehend. The romantic chapter of their lives may have closed, but a different, equally significant connection persisted. Their professional collaboration did not cease entirely with their divorce. While Lucille took the reins of Desilu Productions, they continued to interact regarding their shared legacy, and, most importantly, their children. This sustained interaction was not merely out of obligation, but was rooted in a genuine affection and a profound understanding of one another's strengths and weaknesses. They had, after all, built an empire together, navigating the uncharted waters of early television, and that shared experience forged an unbreakable link. Desi Arnaz remained a significant presence in Lucille's life, and she in his, until his passing. Their phone calls were frequent, often long, and filled with a comfortable familiarity that only decades of shared experiences can create. They discussed their children, their grandchildren, and often the business they had once jointly commanded. These conversations were a testament to a bond that transcended the romantic ideal, and settling into something perhaps more profound, a steadfast partnership and an unwavering personal connection. Lucille often spoke of Desi with affection and respect, acknowledging his brilliance and his pivotal role in her success and the success of Desilu. She recognized the unique synergy they possessed, both professionally and personally, even if that synergy ultimately proved too intense for their marriage to withstand. Their story became an unusual example of how love, in its broadest sense, can transform rather than simply end. When Desi Arnaz passed away in 1986, Lucille Ball felt his loss deeply. It was the end of an era and the farewell to a man who had been her partner in so many significant ways. As a husband, a collaborator, a father to her children, and a lifelong friend. Their enduring connection serves as a quiet testament to the multifaceted nature of human relationships, demonstrating that even after great change, respect and affection can continue to thrive. Lucille Ball's career unfolded precisely as television itself was finding its voice, and in many ways she became one of its most defining figures during what is now known as its golden age. Her influence extended far beyond her iconic red hair and unparalleled comedic timing, reaching into the very fabric of how television shows were made, performed, and managed as a business. She was not merely a star, she was a foundational architect of the medium. Her approach to comedic performance set a new standard. Before I Love Lucy, much of television comedy was adapted from radio or stage, often relying on broad strokes and less visual humour. Lucille Ball, with her background in physical comedy and silent film techniques, brought a nuanced, full-bodied approach. Her willingness to appear utterly unglamorous, to contort her face into exaggerated expressions, and to commit entirely to outlandish situations created a new paradigm for televised humour. She demonstrated that visual comedy, when executed with precision and fearless abandon, could captivate and endear audiences in a way few had before. Beyond performance, her impact on production techniques was revolutionary. The decision to film I Love Lucy on 35mm film with multiple cameras before a live studio audience, a method now standard for sitcoms, was a radical departure at the time. This choice not only preserved the show's quality for future broadcasts, but also allowed for a more dynamic and theatrical viewing experience. It was a pioneering move that set the technical blueprint for countless productions that followed. Furthermore, her role in the business of entertainment was transformative. As the head of Desilu Productions, first with Desianas, and then independently, Lucille Ball shattered glass ceilings. She demonstrated that a woman could not only star in a hit show but also run a major Hollywood studio, making critical business decisions, developing new talent, and championing groundbreaking series. Her vision and business acumen helped shape the structure of modern television, leaving an indelible mark on its creative and corporate landscape. She was in essence a living embodiment of television's formative years, shaping its very identity. As Lucille Ball transitioned into her later years, the relentless pace of her earlier life began to yield to a more measured existence, though her connection to the public remained strong. Like many individuals in their advanced age, she experienced various health concerns that naturally accompany the passage of time. Details of these matters were often kept private, reflecting a desire for personal space away from the constant glare of celebrity, a glare she had navigated for decades. Yet, then it is generally acknowledged that she faced the common ailments and challenges that come with aging, which gradually impacted her physical vigour. Despite these personal health considerations, Lucille Ball continued to make public appearances, demonstrating an enduring commitment to her fans and the industry she helped to shape. These appearances were often met with overwhelming warmth and admiration, a testament to her enduring popularity. Whether attending award ceremonies, participating in television specials, or engaging with philanthropic causes, she carried herself with a quiet dignity, her presence often eliciting a palpable sense of reverence from those around her. In these later years she had evolved into an elder stateswoman of Hollywood. Her wisdom, born from decades of groundbreaking work and navigating the complexities of fame and business, was highly valued. She offered insights and encouragement to younger generations of performers and producers, sharing the lessons learned from a career that spanned from the silent era to the dawn of cable television. Her presence at industry events was not merely symbolic, It represented a living link to the golden age of television, a reminder of the pioneering spirit and creative courage that built the medium. Her iconic status seemed to grow with each passing year, solidifying her place as a beloved and respected figure whose influence continued to resonate deeply within the entertainment world. As the 1980s progressed, Lucille Ball's life began to reflect a more deliberate shift away from the relentless demands of the public eye. It was a gradual retreat, not an abrupt departure, allowing her to savour the quieter moments that had often been elusive during the peak of her extraordinary career. The intense glare of celebrity, a constant companion for so many decades, began to soften, replaced by a more private existence centred on personal contentment. Her final years were characterised by a deep enjoyment of family life. Having spent so much of her energy building an empire and crafting iconic performances, she now found solace and joy in the everyday interactions with her children, Lucy and Desi Jr., and her grandchildren. These were the relationships that grounded her, offering a sense of normalcy and profound affection. Her marriage to Gary Morton also provided a stable and loving partnership, a quiet anchor in a life that had once been defined by dramatic shifts and public scrutiny. She cherished these domestic moments, finding immense satisfaction in being a grandmother and a wife, rather than primarily Lucy. While she stepped back from starring roles and the daily operation of a studio, her interest in the entertainment industry never truly waned. She remained keenly aware of new developments, watching television, reading industry news, and discussing projects with those still actively involved. Her perspective, however, had shifted. It was no longer the intense hands-on involvement of a pioneer, but rather the reflective observation of a seasoned professional, someone who understood the intricate workings of the business from a unique and unparalleled vantage point. She watched the landscape evolve, perhaps with a quiet understanding of the ever-changing tides of popular culture, are content to observe from a more private and peaceful distance. In 1986, Lucille Ball undertook her final acting role, appearing in the television film Stone Pillow. This project represented a significant departure from the comedic roles that had defined her career. It was a dramatic portrayal of a homeless elderly woman in New York City, a character far removed from the glamorous, often chaotic, personas she had embodied for decades. The film aimed to shed light on the plight of the homeless, a challenging and sombre subject. Ball's intention in taking on Stone Pillow was clear. She sought to challenge herself artistically, to demonstrate a range beyond her well-established comedic genius. It was an opportunity to explore a different facet of human experience, to inhabit a character that demanded empathy and offered no easy laughs. Many performers, particularly those renowned for a specific genre, often express a desire to prove their versatility, to show that their talent extends beyond the comfortable boundaries of their public image. For Ball, this role was an attempt to do precisely that in her later career, to leave a final, dramatic mark. The critical reception to Stone Pillow was mixed. Some critics acknowledged her brave attempt to tackle such a demanding and unglamorous role, recognizing the courage it took for an icon of her stature to appear in such a vulnerable light. They praised her commitment to the character, in noting her dedication to portraying the harsh realities of homelessness. However, others found the film itself to be somewhat uneven, and some felt that even Ball's substantial talent could not entirely overcome the limitations of the script or the overall production. The stark contrast between her public persona and this dramatic role was noted, sometimes with admiration for her effort, and other times with a sense that the performance did not fully transcend the expectations audiences held for her. Regardless of the varying opinions, Stone Pillow stands as a testament to Lucille Ball's enduring artistic curiosity and her willingness to venture into new creative territory, even in the twilight of her performing career. In the years leading up to her passing, Lucille Ball continued to make select public appearances, while each one serving as a poignant reminder of her immense legacy and the deep affection she inspired. These moments were often characterized by an outpouring of genuine admiration, a collective acknowledgement of her singular contribution to entertainment. Her presence at such events was met not merely with applause, but with a profound sense of reverence. One of her most memorable final public appearances occurred at the 61st Academy Awards ceremony in March 1989, as she walked onto the stage A hush fell over the assembled luminaries, quickly followed by a thunderous ovation. The entire audience, comprising Hollywood's most celebrated actors, directors, and producers, rose to their feet. This was no perfunctory standing ovation. It was a spontaneous, heartfelt tribute to a woman who had not only entertained generations but had also broken significant ground as a female executive in a male-dominated industry. The warmth and sincerity of that moment were palpable, or reflecting the deep respect she commanded from her peers. Her appearances in these later years were less about promoting new projects and more about accepting accolades, celebrating milestones, and simply being present as a beloved icon. Whether presenting an award, attending a special tribute, or merely gracing a red carpet, Lucille Ball carried herself with a quiet dignity, a testament to her enduring star power. The public and her colleagues alike saw in her not just a performer, but a pioneer, a matriarch of television, and a cherished friend. These final public moments underscored the indelible mark she had left on popular culture, and the profound, lasting affection she held in the hearts of millions. She was, until the very end, a figure of immense significance, revered by all who had witnessed her extraordinary journey. The year 1986 brought a profound shift in Lucille Ball's personal world with the passing of Desi Arnaz. Her former husband and enduring partner in both creative endeavours and the raising of their children. Despite their divorce decades earlier, the bond between them remained uniquely complex and deeply significant. Their relationship had evolved from passionate romance to a partnership forged by shared history, mutual respect, and an undeniable, if sometimes turbulent, affection that transcended their marital separation. Desi's death at the age of 69, after a battle with lung cancer, undoubtedly impacted Lucille deeply. Though they had each found happiness and companionship in subsequent marriages, the foundation of their lives, professionally and personally, had been laid together. They were in many ways inextricably linked, not only by their children, Lucy and Desi Jr., but also by the cultural phenomenon they had created with I Love Lucy and the groundbreaking studio, Desilu. Lucille Ball often spoke of Desi with a blend of wistfulness and admiration, acknowledging his brilliance, his charm, and the fundamental role he played in her life and career. Even after their divorce, they maintained a connection, often speaking by phone, particularly as the years progressed. She held him in high regard as a father to their children and as the visionary who had helped build their empire. His passing marked the end of an era, not just for her, but for a significant chapter in television history. For Lucille, Desi's death represented the loss of a confidant, a co-creator, and the man with whom she had shared the most transformative period of her life. It was a private grief, understood only by those who recognized the intricate threads that continue to bind them, long after the public perception of their marriage had dissolved. His absence left an undeniable void, a quiet echo of a partnership that, despite its challenges, had profoundly shaped both their individual destinies and the landscape of American entertainment. The springtime of 1989 brought an unexpected and somber conclusion to the extraordinary life of Lucille Ball. On April 18th, she was admitted to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles after experiencing chest pains. Diagnosed with a dissecting aortic aneurysm, she underwent 10 hours of open-heart surgery, a procedure initially deemed successful. For a brief period, there was hope for her recovery, and the public held its breath, sending wishes for her recuperation. However, just over a week later, on the morning of April 26, 1989, Lucille Ball suffered a sudden aortic rupture, a catastrophic event from which she could not recover. She passed away at the age of 77. The news spread rapidly, casting a pall over the entertainment world and beyond. The suddenness of her death, following what had seemed a hopeful recovery, amplified the sense of loss. The public reaction was immediate and profound. Tributes poured in from all corners, from fellow performers and industry executives to political figures and countless ordinary individuals whose lives she had touched. News broadcasts interrupted regular programming to announce her passing, and newspapers across the nation dedicated extensive coverage to her legacy. Many expressed a deep sense of personal grief, as if a beloved family member had departed. For decades, Lucille Ball had been a constant, vibrant presence in American homes, a source of laughter, joy, and comfort. Her comedic genius transcended generations, making her an iconic figure whose image and voice were instantly recognizable. The outpouring of emotion reflected not only her status as a pioneering entertainer and businesswoman, but also the unique place she held in the cultural consciousness. Her death truly marked the end of an era, and signifying the departure of one of the most influential and adored figures in the history of television. In the wake of Lucille Ball's passing, the world responded with an immediate and heartfelt outpouring of grief and remembrance. Tributes began to flow almost instantly, demonstrating the profound and widespread affection held for her. Hollywood figures, from legendary actors to powerful studio executives, offered their condolences and shared personal anecdotes that underscored her warmth, professionalism, and unparalleled comedic timing. Her peers remembered her not only as a brilliant performer, but also as a generous colleague and a trailblazing leader. Political figures also acknowledged her immense cultural contribution. Statements from the White House and leaders across the nation recognized her as a quintessential American icon, whose work had brought joy to millions, and whose achievements as a woman in business had inspired many. Her impact transcended the boundaries of entertainment, touching upon broader themes of American ingenuity and perseverance. The public, perhaps more than any other group, felt a deep sense of personal loss. Television networks devoted special programming to her memory, replaying classic episodes of I Love Lucy and airing retrospective documentaries. Radio stations played segments of her interviews and discussed her enduring influence, and fans left flowers and notes at her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a tangible expression of their admiration and sorrow. Her passing was marked by a universal recognition of her singular impact. It was clear that Lucille Ball was more than just an actress. She was a cultural touchstone. Her ability to elicit laughter, to connect with audiences on a deeply human level, had forged a bond that felt intimate and enduring. Memorial services, both public and private, were held to honor her memory, all reflecting the vast number of lives she had touched. These immediate tributes served as a collective acknowledgement of a life lived with extraordinary zest, and a career that left an indelible mark on the landscape of entertainment. Among Lucille Ball's most enduring gifts to the world is the timeless creation, I Love Lucy. Decades after its initial broadcast, the series continues to hold a prominent place in the television landscape, a testament to its singular charm and comedic brilliance. It has never truly left the airwaves, finding new generations of viewers through syndication, reruns, and now streaming platforms. This continuous presence is a remarkable feat in an industry where most programs fade from public memory shortly after their original run. The show's enduring appeal lies in its fundamental understanding of human nature and relationships. the domestic squabbles, the dreams of stardom, the everyday frustrations, and the unbreakable bonds of friendship and marriage depicted in I Love Lucy resonate across different eras and cultures. Lucy Ricardo's outlandish schemes, Ricky's exasperated but loving reactions, and the Ricardos' interactions with their best friends, Fred and Ethel Mertz, present a comedic symphony that feels both specific to its time and universally relatable. I Love Lucy established a benchmark for television comedy that few shows have ever matched. Its innovative use of a live studio audience, multiple cameras, and the sophisticated comedic performances of its cast set new standards for production quality and comedic timing. The show's meticulously crafted scripts, often building to a crescendo of physical comedy and character-driven humor, demonstrated a sophisticated understanding of the sitcom format. Even today, aspiring comedians and television writers study I Love Lucy for its masterful construction and the iconic performances within it. It serves as a foundational text in the history of television, a constant reminder of what a truly well-executed comedy series can achieve. Its humour, rooted in character and situation rather than topical references, ensures its jokes remain fresh and genuinely funny, proving that true comedic genius transcends the passage of time. The show's legacy is a continuous broadcast, a perpetual loop of laughter that speaks to the enduring power of its creation. Lucille Ball's prominence in American culture extends far beyond the confines of a television screen. She became more than just an actress. She embodied a cultural archetype, a symbol of resilience, ambition, and groundbreaking achievement. Her image, with that distinctive red hair and expressive face, became synonymous with laughter and the golden age of television. Yet, her iconic status was built not only on her comedic genius, but also on her profound impact as a trailblazing figure in a historically male-dominated industry. In assuming control of Desilu Productions after her divorce from Desi Arnaz, Lucille Ball shattered a significant barrier. She became the first woman to head a major Hollywood studio, a position of immense power and influence that had previously been exclusively held by men. This was not merely a symbolic gesture. She actively steered the company, making critical decisions that shaped the future of television. Her leadership led to the creation and success of iconic series, demonstrating a keen business acumen and a visionary understanding of the evolving entertainment landscape. Her journey through Hollywood was characterized by a remarkable resilience. From her early struggles as a contract player to her eventual ascent as a television mogul, Ball navigated the complexities of the industry with a steadfast determination. She faced skepticism and challenges, yet consistently proved her capabilities, both in front of and behind the camera. This unwavering spirit, combined with her unparalleled talent, solidified her place as an enduring cultural icon. She represented the possibility of breaking through established norms, inspiring countless women to pursue their ambitions in fields where they had historically been excluded. Her legacy is one of laughter, but also one of profound professional courage and pioneering leadership. Lucille Ball's comedic legacy extends forward through the decades, profoundly shaping the landscape for those who followed, particularly for women in comedy. Her approach to humour was revolutionary, breaking conventions and demonstrating a fearless commitment to physical comedy that was largely unprecedented for female performers in her era. She was not afraid to contort her face, to fall, and to get messy, or to appear utterly ridiculous in pursuit of a laugh. This uninhibited dedication to the comedic moment provided a powerful blueprint for future generations. Before Ball, many female comedic roles were often more refined, relying on wit or charm rather than broad physical humour. Lucille Ball, however, embraced the full spectrum of comedic expression, using her entire body as an instrument for humour. Her rubbery facial expressions, exaggerated movements, and perfectly timed pratfalls became hallmarks of her craft. This fearless abandonment of vanity for the sake of comedy was a revelation, showing that women could be just as boisterous, chaotic, and physically expressive as their male counterparts. Her influence can be observed in the work of countless comedians who came after her. Actresses like Carol Burnett, Goldie Hawn, and later Tina Fey and Amy Poehler have all, in various ways, echoed Ball's willingness to fully commit to the absurdity of a situation, to utilize physical humor, and to embrace characters who are flawed, ambitious, and often hilariously misguided. Ball opened doors by proving that a woman could be the absolute center of a comedic hurricane, driving the narrative and generating the most powerful laughs through her own actions and reactions. She demonstrated that a woman did not need to be merely the straight person or the romantic interest in a comedy. She could be the primary source of the humor herself, with all the chaos and vulnerability that entailed. This enduring lesson, delivered through countless iconic I Love Lucy moments, has resonated across generations, making Lucille Ball an indispensable pioneer whose work continues to inspire and inform the art of comedy. The story of Desilu Productions, born from the vision of Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, stands as a monumental chapter in the annals of television history. But more than just a successful studio, Desilu fundamentally reshaped the industry's operational framework and creative possibilities. Its innovative production techniques, initially conceived to accommodate Ball's desire to stay in Los Angeles while filming I Love Lucy, became the standard for multi-camera sitcoms, utilizing film instead of kinescope and pioneering the laugh track. These methods, once revolutionary, are now so ingrained in television production that their origins are sometimes overlooked. Beyond these technical advancements, Desilu's most enduring legacy lies in the remarkable roster of programs it brought to life. I Love Lucy itself, the cornerstone, remains an evergreen classic, its humor and characters resonating with audiences across generations. But Desilu's influence extended far beyond this singular triumph. Under Lucille Ball's sole leadership, the studio championed projects that would become cultural cornerstones. Star Trek, initially a risky venture with an unconventional premise, found its home at Desilu, and its subsequent cultural impact has been immeasurable, spawning an entire universe of films, series, and merchandise. Similarly, Mission Impossible, with its intricate plots and iconic theme, emerged from the Desilu stable, defining the spy thriller genre for years to come. These productions were not merely popular, they were groundbreaking, pushing the boundaries of storytelling and visual effects for their time. Desilu's willingness to take creative risks and invest in novel concepts laid the groundwork for much of modern serialized television. The studio's commitment to quality, its business acumen in retaining ownership of its content, and its pioneering spirit collectively created a blueprint for television success. These shows born under the Desilu banner continue to populate syndication, streaming platforms, and the collective cultural consciousness, a testament to the enduring vision of its founders and the profound impact of their studio. The enduring impact of Lucille Ball is not merely confined to flickering screens or historical archives. It is tangibly preserved and celebrated in physical spaces, ensuring her legacy continues to inspire and entertain. Her profound connection to her roots, particularly her hometown of Jamestown, New York, is honoured with a collection of dedicated memorials that serve as focal points for her admirers. At the heart of these commemorations is the Lucille Ball Desi Arnaz Museum and Centre for Comedy, situated in Jamestown. This institution offers a comprehensive journey through the lives and careers of Ball and Arnaz, showcasing meticulously preserved costumes, props, and personal artifacts from I Love Lucy and beyond. Visitors can immerse themselves in the meticulously recreated sets, gaining a deeper appreciation for the groundbreaking production methods and the comedic genius that unfolded within those walls. The museum serves as a vibrant tribute, not just to their individual talents, but to their collaborative spirit and their unparalleled contributions to entertainment. Adjacent to the museum, the National Comedy Centre also stands in Jamestown, a testament to Ball's pioneering role in the art form. While broader in its scope, this centre acknowledges Ball as a foundational figure in American comedy, her innovative approach to physical humour, and her fearless dedication to comedic performance, having paved the way for countless others. Beyond these dedicated museums, Jamestown proudly displays various statues and historical markers. One notable sculpture captures Ball in a classic comedic pose, embodying her vibrant spirit and her capacity for joyful expression. Another, a more detailed and lifelike depiction, known affectionately as New Lucy, replaced an earlier, less flattering rendition, demonstrating the community's deep affection and commitment to honouring her image appropriately. These public art pieces serve as constant reminders of the local girl who achieved global stardom, her presence still felt in the streets where she once walked. These memorials collectively solidify Lucille Ball's eminent place in history, transforming her story from abstract narrative into tangible, visitable sites of remembrance. They allow new generations to connect with her work, to understand her significance, and to celebrate the remarkable life of a woman who shaped the landscape of entertainment. The narrative surrounding Lucille Ball continues to evolve as new generations and shifting cultural perspectives bring fresh lenses to her extraordinary life and career. What was once primarily viewed through the prism of her comedic genius on I Love Lucy is now increasingly understood in a broader, more nuanced context, particularly concerning her formidable business acumen and her undeniable feminist impact. Early interpretations often highlighted her role as a beloved entertainer, a woman who brought laughter into millions of homes. While this remains fundamentally true, contemporary discussions delve deeper into the strategic brilliance that underpinned her success. Her decision, alongside Desiana's, to purchase the rights to I Love Lucy and form Desilu Productions was, in retrospect, a pioneering act of ownership and control within Hollywood. This move, initially driven by practical needs related to their family life, established a new paradigm for talent-owned production companies, a model that would later become more common. Their modern analyses frequently emphasize the foresight and risk-taking involved in this venture, positioning Ball not merely as an actress, but as a shrewd businesswoman who understood the value of intellectual property and independent production long before many of her peers. Furthermore, her role as the first woman to head a major Hollywood studio, following her divorce from Arnaz and her acquisition of his shares in Desilu, is now celebrated with a heightened sense of its historical significance. In an era when executive leadership was overwhelmingly male, Ball's tenure at Desilu was a remarkable achievement. She made bold decisions, greenlighting iconic series like Star Trek and Mission Impossible, demonstrating a keen eye for innovative content and a willingness to invest in groundbreaking ideas. This period of her life is frequently cited in discussions of women breaking barriers in corporate America, highlighting her resilience, leadership, and unwavering commitment to her vision amidst immense pressure. Modern feminist interpretations of Lucille Ball extend beyond her executive roles. Her comedic persona, particularly as Lucy Ricardo, is often re-examined for its subversive qualities. Despite the traditional domestic setting, Lucy's relentless pursuit of independence, her frequent challenges to societal norms, and her unbridled ambition, however comically portrayed, resonate with contemporary feminist discourse. She embodied a woman who refused to be confined by expectations, even if her schemes often went awry. This ongoing reappraisal enriches our understanding of Lucille Ball, revealing a figure whose influence stretched far beyond laughter, profoundly shaping both the business and cultural landscape of her time. Beyond the iconic, boisterous persona of Lucy Ricardo and the formidable executive who commanded Desilu, lay a woman of profound complexity. Lucille Ball was a tapestry woven with threads of relentless ambition, surprising vulnerability, immense strength, and an unwavering dedication to both her craft and her family. The public saw the laughter, the physical comedy, and later the powerful studio head. But the private individual navigated a landscape of personal triumphs and heartaches with equal intensity. Her ambition was evident from her earliest days in New York. A young woman determined to make her mark in a challenging industry. This drive propelled her through countless modelling jobs, bit parts in films, and the arduous work of perfecting her comedic timing. It was a deep-seated desire not just for fame, but for mastery, a commitment to understanding every facet of performance and production. Yet, beneath this drive lay a discernible vulnerability, particularly in her personal relationships. Her passionate, often tumultuous, Dandos marriage to Desi Arnaz was a testament to both her capacity for deep love and her struggle with the pressures that fame and demanding careers placed on a union. The eventual dissolution of that marriage, despite their enduring affection, revealed a woman who felt deeply and carried burdens privately. Lucille Ball's strength was perhaps her most defining characteristic. It manifested in her ability to persevere through setbacks, to innovate in a male-dominated industry, and to take on the unprecedented role of a female studio executive. This strength was not performative. It was a quiet resilience that allowed her to make difficult decisions and to stand firm in her convictions. Crucially, her dedication extended beyond her professional life. Her children, Lucy and Desi Jr., remained a consistent priority throughout her life. She strove to provide them with stability and love, often sacrificing elements of her own personal peace for their well-being. The public saw the star. Those closest to her experienced the fiercely protective mother and the loyal friend, a woman who, despite her global renown, remained grounded by her core values and her profound humanity. Lucille Ball's impact extended far beyond the realm of comedic performance. She possessed a truly pioneering spirit that reshaped the landscape of Hollywood, not only in her artistic contributions, but profoundly in business and in dismantling gender barriers. Her innovations were not accidental. They were the product of careful thought, immense courage, and an unwavering belief in her own vision. In the nascent days of television, where networks held absolute power, Ball and Desi Arnaz dared to challenge the established norms. Their insistence on filming I Love Lucy on 35mm film, rather than the industry-standard kinescope, was a groundbreaking decision. This choice initially met with resistance. It preserved the show's visual quality for future generations and laid the groundwork for the syndication model that would become a cornerstone of television economics. It was an act of foresight, recognizing the enduring value of their creation. Her pioneering spirit truly soared when she assumed full control of Desilu Productions after her divorce. In an era when women in positions of such executive power were virtually unheard of, Lucille Ball became the first woman to head a major Hollywood studio. This was not merely a symbolic appointment. She actively ran the company, making critical decisions about production, finance, and creative development. Under her leadership, Desilu greenlit shows like Star Trek and Mission Impossible, series that would go on to define genres and become cultural touchstones. She recognized potential where others might have seen only risk, demonstrating a keen business acumen and an intuitive understanding of audience appeal. This was a woman who did not just adapt to change, she instigated it. She didn't merely follow trends, she set them. Her legacy is thus not solely that of a beloved entertainer, but of a true innovator, a visionary who restored the very foundations of television production and ownership, and in doing so, irrevocably broke through significant gender barriers, while paving a new path for women in leadership within the entertainment industry. The character of Lucy Ricardo, brought to life with such boundless energy by Lucille Ball, possesses an enduring allure that transcends the decades. Her appeal is not merely a nostalgic echo from a bygone era. It continues to resonate with new generations, drawn to her spirited nature and the universal themes she embodies. Lucy Ricardo, at her core, is an every woman with extraordinary dreams. Her relentless, often misguided aspirations to join Ricky in show business, or to simply prove her capabilities, speak to the universal human desire for recognition and purpose. Viewers, regardless of their own circumstances, can identify with the frustration of feeling overlooked, the longing for a chance to shine, and the occasional missteps that accompany ambitious pursuits. Her schemes, though frequently disastrous, are born from a deeply relatable yearning to be more, to do more, and to escape the perceived confines of her domestic life. Beyond aspiration, Lucy's mischievous spirit is a powerful magnet. She's a character who consistently pushes boundaries, challenges authority, and finds herself in predicaments of her own making. This playful defiance, devoid of malice, offers a vicarious thrill. Her slapstick antics and exaggerated facial expressions provide a release, a moment of unbridled laughter that crosses cultural and generational divides. There is a liberating quality to watching Lucy stumble and recover, reminding us of the inherent humour in our own imperfections and minor follies. Moreover, the bedrock of I Love Lucy is the deep and abiding love between Lucy and Ricky. Despite their frequent spats, cultural differences and comedic misunderstandings, their affection for one another remains steadfast. This portrayal of a loving, albeit tumultuous, marital partnership reflects the complexities and comforts of real relationships. The tenderness that occasionally breaks through the chaos, particularly in moments of reconciliation, speaks to the enduring power of connection and mutual respect. This blend of aspiration, mischief, and love creates a character whose appeal remains as fresh and captivating today as it was over 70 years ago, a testament to Lucille Ball's profound understanding of the human spirit, the profound power of laughter. A force both simple and deeply complex was a gift Lucille Ball bestowed upon millions. It is a joy that remains a central, vibrant part of her enduring legacy. Through her unparalleled physical comedy, her expressive face, and her impeccable timing, she understood how to elicit genuine mirth from audiences across generations. Laughter, in its purest form, offers a momentary reprieve from the complexities and burdens of daily life. It is a universal language, transcending cultural barriers and personal circumstances. Lucille Ball, with her unique comedic sensibilities, provided this invaluable escape. She crafted scenarios and reactions that were so absurd, yet so grounded in human experience, that resistance to laughter became futile. Her performances invited viewers to shed their worries, even if only for half an hour, and simply indulge in the lightness of shared amusement. This ability to consistently generate joy, to make people forget their troubles through genuine humour, is perhaps her most remarkable achievement. It was not merely about telling jokes, but about creating an atmosphere where laughter was inevitable, where the sheer delight of her performance washed over the audience. The sound of her cackle, the contortions of her face, the way she could turn a simple domestic mishap into an epic comedic battle. These elements combine to create a powerful, positive emotional response. In a world often filled with challenges, the consistent presence of such a pure source of happiness holds immense value. Lucille Ball provided comfort, connection, and a universal understanding through the medium of laughter. It is a legacy that continues to resonate, a testament to the fact that bringing joy to others is one of the most lasting contributions one can make. The echoes of that laughter continue to reverberate, a timeless tribute to her extraordinary comedic genius. Lucille Ball's life was, in every sense, a life fully lived. It was a journey of remarkable breadth and depth, beginning in the quiet, unassuming town of Jamestown, New York, and culminating in a status as an unparalleled icon recognized across the globe. Her path was not one of immediate recognition or effortless ascent, but rather a testament to perseverance, reinvention, and an unwavering belief in her own capabilities. From her early struggles as a young actress, navigating the competitive world of Hollywood with a distinct appearance and a determination that set her apart, she steadily built a career. She moved from uncredited roles to B-movies, from supporting parts to leading lady, always learning, always observing, and always refining her craft. This period, often overlooked in the shadow of her later fame, was crucial. It forged the resilience and the astute understanding of performance that would become her hallmarks. The triumphs were numerous and profound. The creation of a television phenomenon that redefined an industry, the groundbreaking role as the first woman to head a major studio, and the sustained adoration of millions. Yet, alongside these successes, there were significant challenges. The intense pressures of professional life intertwined with personal complexities, leading to moments of profound difficulty and public scrutiny. Her divorce from Desi Arnaz, while a private sorrow, also marked a turning point, demonstrating her capacity for strength and independent leadership in an era not always welcoming to such female empowerment. She navigated these currents with a quiet authority and a deep commitment to her artistic vision and her family. Her story is not merely one of celebrity, but of a woman who continually pushed boundaries, both personally and professionally. She transformed herself from a struggling ingenue into a comedic genius, and then into a pioneering executive, leaving an indelible mark on entertainment history. It was a life rich with experience, defined by both the dazzling heights of success and the quiet dignity of overcoming adversity. To truly appreciate the full scope of Lucille Ball's impact, one must endeavour to look beyond the vibrant, instantly recognisable cascade of her red hair, and beyond the broad, physical comedy that brought her unparalleled fame. While these elements are undeniably central to her public persona, they represent only a facet of a far more complex and remarkable individual. Her enduring image, often frozen in a moment of comedic exasperation or a perfectly timed pratfall, can sometimes obscure the profound depth of her character and her contributions. Beneath the surface of the beloved entertainer was an exceptionally shrewd businesswoman. She possessed a keen understanding of industry mechanics, a pioneering spirit that challenged established norms, and an unwavering commitment to controlling her own creative and financial destiny. Her decisions, often bold and unconventional for her time, transformed the landscape of television production and ownership, demonstrating a strategic mind that extended far beyond the soundstage. She was not merely a performer, but an architect of an empire, a testament to her intelligence and foresight. Furthermore, beyond the laughter and the lights, Lucille Ball was a devoted mother. Her children, Lucy and Desi Jr., remained a constant priority throughout her demanding career. She strove to provide them with stability and love, navigating the unique challenges of celebrity parenthood with a quiet determination. This aspect of her life, often conducted away from the public eye, reveals a woman grounded in personal values, committed to nurturing her family amidst the whirlwind of her professional life. Ultimately, she was a resilient woman, and one who faced both public triumphs and private heartbreaks with a remarkable strength of spirit. She persevered through early career struggles, the dissolution of a highly public marriage, and the immense pressures of leadership in a male-dominated industry. Her journey illuminates a woman who not only entertained millions but also shaped an entire industry, leaving a legacy far richer and more profound than the iconic image alone might suggest. The narrative of Lucille Ball's life unfolds as a quintessential American story, one deeply resonant with the nation's foundational ideals of opportunity and self-determination. It is a chronicle of perseverance, illustrating how an individual, through sheer will and talent, can transcend humble beginnings and navigate the often unforgiving currents of ambition to achieve extraordinary heights. From her early days in Jamestown, New York, to the glittering apex of Hollywood, her journey embodies a relentless pursuit of dreams, often against considerable odds. Her path was marked by innovation, not merely in the artistic realm of comedy, but in the very structure of an emerging industry. Lucille Ball, alongside Desi Arnaz, did not simply perform for television. They actively shaped its nascent form, challenging established production models and asserting creative and financial independence. This pioneering spirit, a hallmark of American ingenuity, allowed them to forge new pathways, demonstrating a profound belief in the power of vision and the courage to execute it. Their methods, once revolutionary, laid the groundwork for modern television production, a testament to their audacious foresight. Lucille Ball's life also mirrors the broader American narrative of reinvention and adaptation. She consistently evolved, shedding one skin for another, from a struggling chorus girl to a B-movie queen, then to a groundbreaking television star, and finally to the head of a major studio. Each transformation was not merely a career shift, but a testament to an indomitable spirit, an unwillingness to be confined by past definitions or limitations. This capacity for self-renewal, for continuously striving towards new horizons, is a thread woven deeply into the fabric of the American experience. Her story is one of an individual who, through hard work and an unyielding belief in her own capabilities, moved from relative obscurity to become a cultural icon. It speaks to the potential for anyone, regardless of background, to leave an indelible mark on the world, to inspire and entertain, and to fundamentally alter the course of an industry. In this sense, Lucille Ball's journey is not just her own. It is a reflection of the enduring American dream itself, a testament to what can be achieved through unwavering dedication and the courageous pursuit of one's deepest aspirations. So the story of Lucille Ball, as it gently settles, leaves an unforgettable imprint, echoing across the landscapes of entertainment, business, and wider culture. Her legacy is not merely a collection of achievements, but a deeply woven tapestry of influence that continues to enrich and inspire. In entertainment, her comedic brilliance remains unparalleled, a benchmark against which all physical comedy is often measured. The laughter she elicited, through her expressive face and fearless commitment to character, transcends time, a universal language understood and cherished by successive generations. I Love Lucy stands as a foundational text in television history, a testament to her enduring power to connect with audiences on a profoundly human level. Beyond the iconic performances, her impact on the business of entertainment was revolutionary. As a woman who not only co-founded but later solely helmed a major Hollywood studio, and Desilu Productions, she shattered ceilings and redefined what was possible for women in leadership roles within a male-dominated industry. Her astute business acumen, her willingness to take calculated risks, and her unwavering vision for the future of television profoundly altered its trajectory. She championed groundbreaking series and innovative production techniques, demonstrating a foresight that shaped the very infrastructure of the medium. Culturally, Lucille Ball became more than an actress or an executive. She became a symbol. She represented resilience, the triumph of hard work and the courage to embrace one's unique talents. Her persona, both on and off screen, embodied a spirited independence and an unwavering dedication to her craft and her family. She quietly paved the way for future generations of female comedians and executives, proving that intelligence and humour could coexist with formidable business savvy. The profound and lasting impact of Lucille Ball is felt in the continuous syndication of her timeless work, in the countless tributes and accolades, and in the quiet inspiration she continues to provide. Her life was a testament to the power of a single individual to entertain, to innovate, and to lead, leaving behind a legacy that is truly unforgettable, a beacon of joy and pioneering spirit that continues to shine brightly through the annals of history. As the narrative of Lucille Ball's extraordinary life gently draws to a close, a distinct echo remains, a resonance that transcends the passing of time. It is the echo of laughter, a sound that she so masterfully crafted and shared with the world, and one that continues to reverberate through the fabric of popular culture. Her journey, from the quiet streets of Jamestown to the dazzling heights of Hollywood, was one of relentless pursuit, profound creativity, and an unwavering spirit. Her presence, though no longer physical, endures with a vibrant clarity. We find her in the late-night reruns, where her exaggerated expressions and perfectly timed pratfalls still evoke genuine amusement. We hear her in the nostalgic conversations of those who grew up watching her, and in the fresh discoveries of new audiences captivated by her unique brand of genius. The cultural landscape she helped shape still bears her indelible mark. We are a testament to a career that was both pioneering and profoundly human. The legacy of Lucille Ball is not merely confined to historical archives or academic studies. It lives and breathes in the collective memory, a comforting and familiar presence. It is the enduring power of a woman who understood the universal language of humour, who knew how to make people forget their troubles, even if just for a moment, with a well-placed joke or a perfectly executed fall. And so, as the final scene fades, and the studio lights dim, we are left with this gentle, persistent echo. It is the sound of Lucille Ball's laughter, a sound that reminds us of joy, of resilience, and of the profound and lasting impact one individual can have on the world. It is a quiet, reassuring presence, a timeless melody that continues to play softly through the annals of entertainment history, inviting us to smile, even in our slumber,